Going on, SOC 100 crew? Happy Saturday, everyone. Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello to everyone, wherever you might be on this wonderful Saturday, December 7th, SOC 100 time. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you all had a good week. Coffee time indeed. Ready to go. Number 2. Happy Soccer Day. You know what? I like that. That's pretty good, Demoria. Soccer Day. I'm right. Hell yeah. Can't believe it's December. We've been doing this now almost 2 months. Kick this off in middle of October, right? Next week will be the... You believe it? All of you have been sticking around for 2 months now doing this stuff? Crazy. Yes, you need the black mug, yeah. Yeah, so I am going to be looking at the swag store in our break. I think I found a good option. And I'm pretty sure it can hook up with Twitch. Like if you're a sub, then you also get, I think, like a discount or something. So I'm trying to figure that out. It's called Fourth Wall. Here, I'll take set up. I really want to get some things set up. You basically just like kind of go inside here and you kind of choose your swag and stuff, and then you throw your logo on it, and then that's it. Like there's no real involvement from us. So I gotta get this set up soon. Pretty easy. But I know, I need that black mug too. And a hoodie. And a hat. Bunch of stuff. So everyone excited though? We're almost at the end of SOC 100-1. Jeez. CI, is it still snowing up there? Yeah, it's snowing a lot. Ground's all covered. All snowed in. It's wintertime. Winter is no longer coming, it's here. Even the Tim Hortons mugs got their little like winter design. A little product placement. Yeah. Good morning. So we got an exciting stream today. We are on Class 16. We're going to be wrapping up Windows Enterprise Network. So we have Windows Event Viewer finally to start digging into Windows Event Viewer. And we have Sysmon. We're going to look at Sysmon, figure out what that's all about. That's going to be pretty big. And then we're going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up Enterprise Windows Network. Then we're going to jump into HelpDesk. You're finally going to start doing some HelpDesk work. It's going to be really good. You're gonna get to experience a little bit what it's like to have a little ticket dashboard and have tickets to triage and figure out on your own. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be a good experience. Karina, your video backtracked about 10 seconds. Yeah, give it a little reconnect. Is everyone using the app? Is that what's happening? Or are you on the browser? I'll be honest, I really don't use the Twitch app. I use the browser like all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I try not to have apps. Possible. Cool. So, all right. That being said, we finished up last weekend with Career Prep 1. That was the stream over there. So what I need to do now is we're going to look at Windows Event Viewer here and then Sysmon. Talk a little bit about the challenges, and then I'm going to unlock this coming soon. And then we're going to jump into HelpDesk. So today is just going to be wrapping up that and then HelpDesk. And then we've got Home Lab all for tomorrow. We're going to take our time with it, kind of walk through some things. And I am so excited for the Home Lab module. Like, it's not like it's the most amazing thing in the world for where it is right now. Like, you're just going to be assembling the building blocks. But when a student gets to building their home lab, that is the difference of learning how to ride the bike and starting to go out on your own. Like, that's the difference between, like, you hop in the seat, like, someone's pushing you, kind of holding you, like, your first time. The home lab portion is when you finally, like, get pushed down down the street and fall a little bit. That happened to all of you. Definitely happened to me. Or the first time you tried to ski down a hill and tumbled. But it's the difference, because it's that moment that is really going to define when things start to become real for you. That's when you're going to start being able to realize that I can do this stuff. Like, I don't need a guide in front of me. I can start going off script. I don't need to rely on the labs as much. Like, they're good reference material at that point. They're documentation. And then you just start applying. And then at that point, it's just taking further training to learn new things, and then again applying. So it's like this nice, it's sort of like an arc, you know, like a career trajectory arc. Once you can start doing the stuff on your own is when you can start feeling competent, valuable, useful, and I think confident. I think confidence is the biggest gain from working with a home lab. That's when you start to really say, like, hey, like, wait a minute, I can go to an interview and I can talk about my stuff that I made and that I'm proud of and that I can contribute, as opposed to, oh, I gotta memorize all the stuff that someone told me and someone taught me, and then I have to say that. And there's a big disconnect there because it's not yours, so it doesn't feel as genuine, right? It feels like, and that's where that, like, imposter syndrome will kick in, because you're just trying to, like, rehearse and re-say what you've learned from a lab. But it's a totally different output when you're talking about what you've done and what you've built, and you can walk through someone what you've done and the war stories and the lessons and the excitement that comes with it. So it's a really exciting module that we're going to jump into, and I think it's honestly the most valuable, and we've taken a long time to get there, but it's going to be worth it. Couple messages in chat. Shepard, good morning. Welcome. Good to have you here. First time tuning in. Take your time. Catch up as you can. Take in what you can, even if you're a little bit behind the current material right now, and just engage with others in the chat and Discord. That's right, KS. No more little sport wheels. So yeah, you've never used the app because it's hard to follow along with labs. Yeah, definitely. Don't worry, home labs are so much. It opens up so much potential. Start thinking, oh my god, yeah, exactly. I can do all this other stuff too. And there's so much free and open source. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, Yeah, like everything unlocks for you at that point. You know? Ariel, thanks for the follow. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new place for you and me. Okay, I won't go into that. No need to start singing here. Let's jump into content. Let's start getting through the rest of the stuff and get you introduced to Windows event logs. So normally, where is it? The Windows event viewer, I post in Discord, so if you're watching this on the recording right now and you're catching up, or you're watching this in the future, the lab Windows event viewer will go back into the Windows operating system module. We used to actually keep this in the SOC 100-2 content in like the future security side, but I think it's going to be more beneficial to have at least seen it a little bit earlier on, and then we're going to keep the Sysmon lab right after it. So just a heads up for everyone right here as well too. Brina, yeah, let's get you back in the browser then if you're running into little app hiccups and stuff. Cool. Okay. Let's jump into it. So, Windows Event Viewer. Let's open up our systems, and we're going to go into the base. Actually, I mean, we could do it in either one. We can do Prepare or Base Enterprise, but I think what we have it set up for you is you... Yeah, that's right. So we're going to use the Prepare VMs for this. So SOC 100-1 Prepare. We're just going to open up the Windows Workstation one. Should be a good time. So event viewer, we've seen this in Linux actually. In the Linux module, you've looked at event logs and var log and the actual GUI event viewer as well. And you'll see that effectively everything, whether it's Windows or Linux or Mac or routers, switches, every like electronic device that has software typically has some type of event logging support. And in IT, the first thing that should be coming to your mind when you're thinking about or hearing about something new or troubleshooting or diagnosing, one of the first few things that should come to you is, what does the event log say? Or are there any events? Or are there any logs? What do the logs say? And that is because it's probably the most accurate portrayal of what's actually happening. There's no filtering, there's no bias at that point, there's no translating from one person to another. I think you'll see when it comes to IT troubleshooting, and especially in security, you're going to be living around event logs all the time. They're a history, they're a record of what happened, they're context for what you don't know, and they're the start and sometimes solution to your investigations. Now, they're not that complicated. It's really no different than if you've had a notebook, like a journal, and you just recorded the events of the day. So what you did that day. That's really what we're talking about here. So it's not that complicated. I'm gonna hop inside of systems. That should be loaded up now. Let's connect into our Windows workstation. So, event viewer in Windows. We're going to go inside of the start menu button over there in the bottom left. And we're just going to go and type in event viewer. That's how we're going to load it up. So we'll take a look at this. Event viewer is going to be a little like slow to load the first time or so. Radish things to the follow. And it's just the nature of working inside of a VM. So let's kind of break it down. What do we have here in front of us? This is effectively like opening up our notebook, like our journal, like what happened this day. That's kind of what we're seeing right now. And on the left-hand pane, we can see our available, by default, like Windows configured logs for us. Excuse me. And they all have different purposes, really. We can also customize these to some degree, and we can set up forwarding of these logs. And we're going to look at that in the security content as we get there. But what we have in front of us are here, we have our application logs. And these are like an index, like a database that's just holding pieces and records of history and events that have actually happened inside of Windows. And they're based on a ton of things. And they're naturally organized into these default containers. So we have our application, and our application logs are exactly what the name entails. So events that are logged by applications or programs. Anything related at that application level layer. And then we have our security logs. So security, super important to where we're going. Account related logins, logouts, change in permission levels, etc. Setup logs are more about installation of software and components. System is more like your drivers, services, anything along that line. Like think about like the system functionality and integrity. That's where we're going to find information regarding Windows inside of the system logs. And then forwarding events is where we can set up these logs that are shipped. Essentially, like imagine we had a small home network with 5 devices. We could send all logs to a single device, and then we could centralize the logs, and then from one single pane see what's happening on all the endpoints. And that is what we're going to get to later. We're going to talk about working inside of a SIEM. We're going to be talking about log and event analytics, and that's a huge portion of the day-to-day in cybersecurity, is looking at events and logs inside of a centralized container. So we'll actually get there. Now, what do these logs actually look like? Well, let's pop the security logs over here and take a look. We can see at the top a number of events. We have almost 11,000. It's a ton. A lot of logs going on, and that's just how it goes. Like, you definitely get a lot. We have special logons, and there are so many event IDs. You will not, or you're not going to remember them all. That's the truth of the matter. That's just how it's going to go. You might remember some of the more common ones. Like, you're going to remember things like 4624, like logon, 4625, logon failure, 4688, like process creation. Like, you're going to learn about those, and some of them will stick out more for what you do. But like with anything, as we've cautioned and advised many times here, can't learn it all. So it's more about just being generally aware of what the event record looks like, what you could expect to find there, and then work with the ones that you're more familiar with on a day-to-day, and then keep the rest as like reference context ability in your head. Now, when in doubt, you should be thinking more about objective. We've preached this message a lot over here. If you were to go to something like Windows Security, event IDs, ultimatewindowssecurity.com, amazing website. This has just been a dedicated website for years now, dedicated to Windows security. And great list over here. You can see all of the event IDs as it would pertain to the security log events. Huge, right? Can't remember all that. That's what I was trying to say. There are a lot of event IDs. They're all specific purposes. Now, the reason why we have event IDs is so that we have a numerical referenceable value, like a tag. And if we were to hook up automation or scripts or programs that could then filter by those event IDs that we learn once or twice and then let the computer do the work for us. That's what they're there for. So try not to get all fancy being like, I gotta memorize it all. Now, what you can do is you can go to a guide like this, and I'll drop it inside of chat over here and inside of Discord as well. Discord. So really good. Now, what you can do is go to a guide like this, press like Control F, do something, yeah, like account. And then you could do like account was successfully logged on, failed to log on, account was logged off. And then you could kind of filter by the event IDs that you're actually looking for. That's way, way more important. And let's just say that we're looking for like an account was successfully logged on, right? Like it's 4624 ID. Good documentation for us to read. We can see the subject of what it looks like, the ID, the account name, domain, logon ID. We can also see some information that comes with it. So like restricted admin mode, virtual account, elevated token, and then there are logon types. So you can see like it gets super, super granular. So like my advice would be more about thinking conceptually and objectively. What are you trying to accomplish? That's what event viewer is for. That's what event IDs are for. For example, if a user's complaining that they're having trouble signing in, having trouble logging on, you might want to go and pull up event IDs related to account logons. If you got an alert that mentioned that there's malware active or there's a compromised level of activity happening on an endpoint or something along those lines, you might want to pull up event IDs related to new processes, process creation. Like, are there any new processes that happened? Are there any changes in the firewall? Any changes in the services? Any changes on account permissions? And there are event IDs for all of that. Those are the event IDs that you would be looking for. And that's truly how you perform an investigative search, whether you're in IT or cybersecurity. You think about what the issue is or the problem in front of you you're trying to solve, and then you're just going to match up with documentation if there is an event ID for it. And then secondly, if you're actually capturing and recording the event logs. And the reason being is this takes up a lot of space. This is data, right? Like this has to be stored somewhere. This will eventually take up a lot of space. So let's say, for example, that we wanted to just do some filtering inside the event viewer at like a rudimentary level. We have some options here on the right-hand side. We could do things like filter the current log. So that little section over here, my mouse is highlighting. We could filter the current log, and we can actually specify the event IDs that we're looking for. So maybe we want to look for just 4624. And that would be for like event logons. We can even specify by user and computers as well too. So let's go and do that. So we can see over here that dropped quite a bit. So now we're at 3,048 events out of the almost 11,000. And let's go and drag that up over there. Take a look at some of these. When did we log on to? December 7th, right? Yep. Bunch of system. Kind of going through these event logs, we can see a whole load of event types. And as I'm kind of going through them, you can see some of the logon types are changing. And kind of looking at that Windows security, right? Like there's service accounts, there's interactive, there's network. So they all have that individual level of different types of events that are happening. We can see like the account name. And this is all information that you could yank out. Like you could run a script, you could snippet some pieces of these and do mass filtering in the logs. And that's eventually what you go and try to do. Could even run a little control F now. So we can search through these logs through here at this point. Maybe look for something with administrator. Let's see. So here we have an administrator logon event. So we have logon type of 10. So going back to documentation, remote terminal services. And this is where we can see that. So when was this? 317, at least in the virtual machine's time zone. It's timestamped to the virtual machine. It's not going to be timestamped to you. Keep that in mind. It's local to the machine time. So we can see that this is an audit. So this is a actual successful login, remote session that happened for that. That was our account. We actually logged in and made a remote desktop connection. Pretty cool. We could also just search for multiple types of events. So go back to our filter current log. We can clear the filter as well. Clear that right out. And let's see what we have over here. 4624 and 4672. So let's search for both of those. And to do that, we just add a little comma. Or 4672. Press OK. So if we wanted to kind of piece together a story to see what was happening, we could look for multiple event IDs. Now, maybe we can track, like, what is the correlation between logon events and special logons? Similarly, we could also just look for logons and logon failures, see if we actually have any of those. 4624, 45. See if we actually have any logon failures inside this. I think we do. Okay. So, for all intents and purposes, if we wanted to, I think inside of the enterprise one, we're going to have a bunch more. Oops. Don't click on clear log. That'll actually delete your logs themselves. So, going through that, like I said, pretty straightforward. If you're looking for event IDs, that's really it. That's what you can do from a Windows level. Now, you're sort of constrained. If you're working with just the default events, you are constrained to what Windows can provide for you. Now, back inside of our enterprise network, remember we had set up additional logs going inside here through group policy. So in the future, when this lab is moved around to the beginning, I'm going to reference that real quick right now. We have set up at this point, at least in the recording of this live stream for now, we're sort of in the future, we've actually recorded a group policy to store Windows PowerShell logs. And that's where you would see things being configured over here. Like, so if we wanted to enable additional logs inside of the Windows operating system, we could go and enable a whole lot more. But by default, a lot of these things will be disabled just because of the size that it takes up. So by default, you could expect to find things related here for troubleshooting in different indexes or indices. Right? Like we can see Edge update happening inside of here. Also, we have desktop window manager, right? So that's an application level type of event. And as we saw, we had some of these events over here, logon events. And if we wanted, we could double click them, get a better inspection. We could copy them out. And again, it's just trying to help correlate, corroborate, piecemeal, stitch together maybe like an answer or a clue to what's going on. Otherwise, you typically aren't looking at event IDs. Some other common types of events would be if you're looking through like power issues. If your computer keeps rebooting, kernel failure, right? If we're looking for kernel related events, well, you would go and find them inside of our logs as well to see what's actually happening. And honestly, that's about as complicated as it gets. It's just a matter of going through the event viewer and trying to find a simple log of what you need to support your case. And I think we're going to do a little bit of that more in the help desk to actually demonstrate it. But I wanted to at least introduce everyone to the event viewer and how to use it at this point in time. You could save certain events. Like you could actually export logs over here if you want as well. Excuse me. So if I wanted to go to filter current log and go to 4624 and grab all of these logs over here, and maybe we want to save filtered log file as something. So it's actually going to be saved as like an EVTX file. So if you're a manager, or if you were looking for this type of incident, maybe you need to go and export all of the logon events of all users from the past hour. Well, you could go here and you could filter that up, filter that criteria, and then you could export that log over here and then maybe import it somewhere else for analysis, or just sift through the file yourself afterwards. You could save and then you can do an import as well. That's really it. Not that complicated, right? Any questions on the Windows event log side of things? What do you think? Quieter chat today. Maybe a lot of lurkers still getting the coffee in. Maybe getting ready for that holiday break already. Straightforward. Anyone really unclear on, right? Yeah, like it makes sense. Okay. Just kind of giving some room for some pause. Yep. Cool. Nice. Okay. So we can now also hop on Windows PowerShell. So we could do this from a command line point of view. Ariel, first class navigating some things. Yeah, fair enough. R double, so many logs. And that's what I mean. You can't memorize them all. So it's just a matter of getting the right log for your needs. Now, we could also go on the command line and mess around with this stuff if we really want it. Get event log name, security, right? And here you go. That's a whole lot of logs, right? What if we wanted to log name and maybe like instance ID 4624 for actual logons? And let's say we did this and pipe that to like logon events.txt. Put this inside of our desktop just for clarity of it. Oh. Nice. Take a look inside this file. No, don't want to know. Cool. So, I mean, if we really wanted, we could export it as well too, but PowerShell being PowerShell, unless you do some additional filtering, right? It's not going to actually span a lot of the stuff for you. But at that point, this is effectively kind of like what you would feed to a SIEM like Splunk or like Elk, or if you've heard of other types of log and event management tools, is you would just pipe these logs over to them. And then what they would do is they would visualize it based on certain rules that you set up, and you would turn all of those event logs into something fancy like this. So those event logs are really basic forms of text-related stores of data based on properties and events related to certain criteria. And then what you could do is filter those events from a text level, bring them into a tool like this, and let the tool visualize that for you. And this is called data visualization. This is a big concept when you start working in the field, when you start actually working maybe like a help desk even. A help desk will have multiple dashboards of these set up, so you could get a visual overview of your service, like of your status, of your network, of your performance, tickets coming in, tickets going out, tickets being closed, time to solve the ticket, latest issue, last issue, trending issues, right? Like you could set up whatever you want. Similarly with cybersecurity, you could do the same, but be looking for cybersecurity related events like account logons, PowerShell arguments being executed, process creation, child processes, orphan processes, processes being spawned under different parents that shouldn't be there, things like that, which you're going to learn about. It's the same thing. It's the same, I should say, it's the same steps. Like you're just looking at event logs and then piping them to a seam like this. Or, and at that point, you're looking at it from a help desk, like IT perspective, for end user support and performance and reliability, or from a cybersecurity perspective for security related events that could compromise the user or the network. So getting there, it's the same knowledge, but then what you look at is just from a different perspective. So I hope that really kind of also paints the picture of why it's important to go through this, so that when you get there, it makes sense on both sides. So Tom, when are you piping the event logs over to something like this? Assume there is a way to make it dynamic so it's constantly refreshing and showing the most up-to-date logs. Yes. So what you would have are called log shippers, and these are processes and services that are running on an endpoint, and they're harvesting logs on intervals for you, maybe a minute, every 5 minutes, however you like, and then that service would look at the log and shape and filter what you want from it, and then send it to a tool like this. The tool then reads it and looks at the data and then renders that data into visuals. Very much like if I went and I right click on this web page and I went to inspect, right? And I look at all this HTML code. All of this HTML code is actually what, so like if we were to ignore the view, right? This code is actually what the computer is reading, but then the browser is rendering this code into a visual graphic that we as humans can. And the seam is doing the exact same thing. It's just looking at a bunch of events like this, or code, really. And instead of humans looking at this being like, I can't read, then the seam is just looking at it and taking all the little bits and turning it into what you see here, visuals. So we're actually going to set that up in our malware analysis lab. We're going to use elk, and we're going to look at file beat and packet beat. A few others, I think. So a tool like this shipper, here's actually a good video, kind of what I was talking about, is it would grab these events happening here, like you can see those event entries popping up, and then it would ship those into that, actually that right there. That last image was what it actually turns into. Harold's saying, I really like making sense of data and presenting in ways that are actually easy to understand when you first see it. That's something plain to highlight. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So to kind of put into some more perspective too, if you are doing troubleshooting, like on your home network at home, like your home lab, your computer, right? Like if you're running your PC and your PC keeps failing, keeps rebooting, keeps restarting, service keeps crashing, you would just pull up your event viewer for your PC at home, and you would try to find out what's happening, like looking at the logs. In a more professional level, and this is why we're going to get you to build that in the home labs, is we're going to get you to stand up your own elk environment. And elk is, we're going to get to it kind of three components. Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. They're three separate components that we're going to learn about that create this software. And SIEMs, Security Information Event Management, is effectively what they are. It's just a way to centralize all of your events and then visualize it for you, or provide a searchable view, kind of like what you're seeing here, and filtering for the data that you need. And the log shippers are what sends local event logs from local endpoints to a centralized destination. And there are many different types, like packet beat is for network traffic, file beat for file-related traffic, etc. From an elk perspective. Splunk has their own thing as well too. Sun, OT Sun, thanks for the follow. Very cool. Now, again, at the end of the day, it all starts here. It all starts on configuring the right events that you need. Because if you get it wrong here, then it doesn't matter how good the rest of your pipeline is. To ship the log, ingest it at the seam level, visualize and render it. None of that matters if your original log that started here on an endpoint, if that wasn't configured properly, none of it, the rest doesn't matter. So the quality of your output is directly related to the quality of your input. So what are you capturing in the first place? And we're going to learn more about that later on. Pretty cool. Now, what we're going to look at next is Sysmon. So Sysmon is it's a tool. It's part of, we've talked a little bit about this Sysinternals suite for a little bit now. And the Sysinternals suite is effectively like all of the default built-in Windows tools, but on steroids. Like, they're much more advanced, they're stronger, they are much more detailed. They're like the Power Pro user version of those tools. And we're going to jump into one of them right now, and that first one over here being Sysmon. Task Manager is just a little brother. Yeah, exactly, KS. So, Sysmon is a way to actually extract and record even more event data locally in Windows, free to use, simple to work with, and from a Sysmon perspective, we can get a lot more enriched logs than what Windows naturally provides. It's a really common tool. A lot of developers, a lot of professionals like to work with this tool when they're testing and experimenting. And I've seen full-blown in-house solutions built on this. I knew a guy that configured Sysmon for a full enterprise network at work. I want to say there must have been at least a couple hundred endpoints for what he did. He configured Sysmon on all of them to capture much more enriched logs, and then he wrote a Python framework, like basically a Python script, like many of them. I don't want to get too convoluted here. And he used a framework in Python to render all of those events into a web portal. So, pretty cool what you can do. He had used Python Django. And Django, let's see. Not many good images. Okay. So effectively, Django is a bunch of libraries and code within Python that you can run and execute as a program that will act like a web server, effectively. And it can support websites, web apps. So what he did was he configured Sysmon to record a whole bunch of events for workstations, and he actually shipped logs then from the endpoints to a Python Django ran web app server. And then from his workstation, he was able to look at all the endpoints. And this was all free. It was all free. So he actually set up a full enterprise solution like Elk and like Splunk for free. Just with a little bit of elbow grease, knowing some Python code, and using a tool like Sysmon. So, pretty cool. Capsidy's asking, is the D silent? Yes, it is. Unless, I mean, if you want to call it Django, Django, go ahead, but To my understanding, it's silent. So let's go ahead and get that set up. I'm going to go power up my enterprise network now. So we're going to jump back on our enterprise VMs. Go to start. Yeah, saying Python is a gem for so many things. Yeah. That's why we're going to include Python scripting for you in SOC 100-5. So you can start using scripts to act like glue. Stitch a whole bunch of things together. Oh yeah. Let that load up. I think it's chat. So Kim Fried, is Waza also recommendable? Yeah. Yeah. You can set up Waza with some defer tools and set up your own little virtual SOC. Hint, hint. Might be doing that soon. Do we turn off the prepare VM? If you'd like CI, I would say yes. So maybe save your credits. You don't need it right now. We're going to be working with the base enterprise VMs. Swaz. OT son, where could I learn all of this? With us. You could learn that with us. Or you could... we're going through the SOC 100 course right now. Go over here. Go to SOC 100-1 course. We're actually going through this course together. And if you want, you could hop on our YouTube, and all the live streams are recorded since day one, where you could watch for free as well too. VMs are booting up. Start over there. This one. Oh, cool. Yeah. Welcome. Alrighty. Go like this. We're going to open our Windows server and connect to that one over there. Now, Sysmon is a little bit different in the fact that it needs a configuration file. So the one we're actually going to be using on security. Any out there, you can make your own. Take a look at that. So a config file like this, and this is what's actually pretty cool about Sysmon, is you configure it for what you need. It's kind of like setting up a log shipper, and you can choose to ship those logs at that point to other endpoints, or just locally on the workstation, and that's what we're going to do. So it's pretty detailed. You don't need to go to this extent, and there's a lot of common Sysmon configs that you can just go and download and work with right away, and you can tweak and tune them for what you need. So we're just going to work with a nice default one from Swift on Security to demonstrate the purposes and concept of what we're trying to accomplish over here. All right. I'm going to actually open up PowerShell from here. And we're going to right-click and run that as admin. And what I want to do is pull that config file all the way down to our Windows workstation we have. We have our Windows server running over here as the domain controller. Remember, We have our Windows workstation that we configured. Second. Anyways, sorry about that. So we're gonna configure using this command over here to effectively pull this export. So the Sysmon config export XML file over here, this markup language file, we're gonna pull this down to our workstation. And we're going to use this as our Sysmon config to record all of the events inside here. So like conhost.exe, we're going to be trying to look at anything from maybe like search indexer, servicehost.exe, anything that might be changing like local service network restricted. So if we have a threat actor on the endpoint that is toggling maybe the network services and saying, let's change the privacy level or the permission level of our network, let's expose ourselves more in the network. Well, Sysmon can go and capture those events for us if we specify for it. Much better than the Windows default event viewer can do. Much, much better, which we'll look at shortly. So we could look for like changes in DHCP. So if there's anything going and messing around with our IP addressing service, and if there's a change in that event, well, we'll find out very shortly about that if we have Sysmon running, and so forth. If the DNS cache was interacted with, we could do that as well too. We can capture that event, and if there's someone maybe trying to poison or corrupt or clear the DNS cache in some way, well, we will get an event for that. So setting up Sysmon is actually really easy. We already installed the Sysinternals suite, I believe, in the last lab. I want to say we did. We're going to take a look. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did, right? Yeah, we used Chocolatey, we installed Sysinternals. So we're going to go and we're just going to pull that export down. So I'm going to go back in the lab, copy this. And just for sake of things, I'm going to put a little notepad in the side so we can see. There's going to be a lot of like commands copy pasting. So let's go and copy that, wrap that text. So what can we see over here? We're going to be invoking a command to our workstation running this script block. We're going to invoke a web request with the URI of the actual Sysmon config file. And we're going to write it to C, like the root C directory. And we're going to call that Sysmon config.xml, just for intents and purposes. That should go and work just fine. Copy that. But here, didn't copy. Let's try again. Copy, go here, right click. I think that worked, yeah. Find out real shortly if that worked properly. Yep, cool. Looks like it did. Yeah. I think I ran the command twice. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to go and install Sysmon as a service. And the way that we do that is just run it. That's all we're going to do. So we're going to go into the program data folder, the Chocolatey package manager, where we installed all of our previous binaries from the Sysinternals suite in the last lab, and we're going to run the Sysmon64.exe binary, accept the end user license agreement. That's just something you have to do. And then we're going to give it an input of the Sysmon config for us. So let's go ahead and invoke that remotely. Copy that. Much better. Cool. So let's take a look and see what it said. System Monitor, version 15.15, System Activity Monitor by Mark Rusinovich and Thomas Garnier. So we got some little license information of who made this way back when. Using a library, XML. So here is the schema, like the rule, kind of like the formatting, interpretation of the markup. And then configuration file has been validated. Sysmon 64 has been installed. Sysmon driver has been installed. Starting it. It's now started. Starting again. for Sysmon 64, and it is so a bunch of little outputs to validate and verify that we actually have been able to run the service. Now let's go ahead. Next step over here, just to make sure that this thing is actually running, we're gonna run another remote command with a script block. I just want to get the service and see that it is actually running properly. We'll do that. Come on. Nice, good. Okay, cool. Running Sysmon 64, display name, perfect. So we have the Sysmon service that is now running for us. So now what we want to do, let's go ahead and open up a RDP connection to our workstation. Let's go mess around in it a little bit as a good user. Let's go make sure that we're actually recording some events. Track down our user activity. Oh. I'm going to open up a PowerShell command here on the desktop. As a good user right now. And yeah, I'm in a desktop right now. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go echo, just for demonstration purposes, Sysmon S file test Sysmon log.ls. So I'm just going to go and create an Excel document just for funsies to kind of see. Now I'm going to delete it. What I meant to do, but let's go and delete the actual file now. That was from the last lab. Gotta be careful with tab autocomplete. There you go. You can go and delete something that you don't want to actually do, right? Okay. Now I'm going to start Notepad. Then I'm going to just run a task kill command for notepad.exe. Kill that. Delete system32. I know, right? Yeah. Cool. Let's go to leveleffect.com. Effect.com. Just gonna see. I'm just creating a bunch of like random traffic and stuff. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna open up Event Viewer here, but I'm actually gonna right-click it and I'm gonna make sure I run this as admin, and I'm gonna get a prompt. Good. Let's see what happened. Let's see if I kill the workstation. Try that again. Did I go too fast, maybe? I'm going to right-click this and I'm going to pin it. Taskbar. Let's do that. Try that again. Right-click. Going on, Hades? Run as admin. There we go. Okay, weird. All right, good DA. Let's go and log in with our domain admin creds. And from 5, good old password. That fire. So you do have to be an admin to look at these types of event logs. And we're going to be looking at applications and services, I believe. Let that load. Sysmon's capturing a whole lot of stuff for us. First time loading up Event Viewer, I think, ever on the workstation. Come on. You can do it, workstation. I believe in you. I know you can open up Event Viewer. So mad. Oh, wait a minute. No, okay, never. It's loading. Thought it like froze. Okay. Application service logs. Soft. It's so mad. Sysmon. Operational. Nice. Cool. All right, all right, all right. Now check this out. Okay. Take a look at this. So I'm going to go, I want to filter for event IDs 11 for file create. Go. Press OK. Nice. Okay, cool. Take a look at this. And pay attention why this is such like a nice event log. Remember the Windows event log that we looked at previously? Like how... Let's go inside here. Windows logs. Security. Okay. Lot of success. First of all, a lot of like spaces. So this is hard text to work with. Like this is hard formatting. Random paragraphs that also are inside here as well. An account was logged off. I mean, that's not like super helpful right away, right? So you have to do a lot of filtering and searching on that. What does that mean? Right? So why don't we instead use something like Sysmon? I'll take a look at this. So let's take a look at some of these event IDs for event 11, right? And what I'm trying to find over here, it'd be like relatively now. For file create. Let's do a little search over here. Excel. Cool, there we go. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, now look at this. Okay. Right away, we have our PID. We have what ran it. We have the target. We have the user account and the timestamp. Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you, Sysmon. That is a nice event. That is already pre-formatted. There's no wild random spaces. It's easy to work with, like column by column of text data here. We have the most important, pertinent information for us right away. We don't need to go and mess around with the default Windows Event Viewer type of logs, which are fine in their own right, but they're not natively built too well for centralization. So you can see like right away, right? And this is what we want to demonstrate is using a tool like Sysmon inside of your enterprise network is going to be so much better. And you saw how easy it was to set up. You can just go and grab someone's config file and kind of sift through it. So I'm actually going to go back and Swift on security and open up raw just so you can see all of this. Let's see, like where is that anyways? XLS. Cool. Take a look at this. So you want to set up a rule? You want to see how easy that is, right? We're just going to add a target file name over here. And we add a comment. So the target file name, if we want to capture JPEGs, PDFs, doc, PowerPoint, right? Doesn't matter. All we need to go inside here is go to our Sysmon config and add a target file name with the target extension. Boom. Log now captured for us. Really easy to work with in that regard. This is why it's so powerful. So this is a super like robust config file. This is like a nice default one and done almost. Here is like all your security events and things that you would need, excuse me, to manage right away, like out of the box. You download this config, run Sysmon as a service, and maybe tweak it for what you need, but in all honesty, this is going to capture a good amount for you. Now, I encourage you, when you eventually get to it, you can kind of work on your own Sysmon configs and maybe share it with one another. That'd be super cool to see. Put it on a GitHub. That'd be amazing. If you had on your resume, like a shareable link to a Sysmon config that you've built and explain and walk through what it does and why, and hey, maybe even write a Python script that can render all of the captured events into a simple web app. Super cool. That'd be amazing. That's like a home custom scene built by you. That would be an amazing project to put on your resume. Amazing demonstration of skill and expertise, competency, and knowledge of what to look for. So, really easy to work with. Now, we can also look at logs remotely as well. So let's kind of do that. Just also demonstrate again, like how nice this is. So we can invoke a command, go to computer name, again, run a script lock, get win event. And we're going to look at log name, Microsoft, Windows, Sysmon. So where we were on the GUI, we will now run on the command line. Inside here. That. Let's take a look. That is a far cry from what we previously saw, right? Like on the last command, or was the? I think it was inside of here, right? Oh, wait. Sorry, it was on the other VM. So actually, you know what? It's good that I didn't fill that connection. So go take a look at that again. For the sake of it. Second over here. Oh. So this is what the Windows event logs look like when we try to get them, like get event log, instance ID. Just like messy, right? Like super messy. And then back inside of our Windows Enterprise, when Sysmon is configured and you run like a get event log from it, this is what you get. That is a huge difference. Huge difference. Ariel, are there scheduled breaks? Yes, we're going to take a little break here shortly, actually, in a minute. We kind of just take like a 10-minute every hour or so. Karina, your video is behind several seconds. Yeah, that's all good. What are you asking above? I'm trying to understand the relationship between Event Viewer and Sysmon. Is Sysmon working inside Event Viewer or separately? I mean, that's a fair question. So Sysmon runs as its own independent service outside of Windows Event Viewer. And what it does is it captures, it's a service that will capture event activity on Windows by monitoring process-related events, which we'll see kind of what that looks like a little bit later. If I run something like, do we have it installed here? So this is an advanced tool that we're going to look at later, but here's a tool called Process Monitor. And every time your operating system does something, there is a record of it happening. Now, Windows Event Viewer is a built-in tool created by Microsoft to capture those events and store them into an EVTX, an event file that can be viewed inside of Event Viewer. Sysmon does something similar, but it's not a default Windows binary or anything like that to that end. Or something. But anyways, sorry. So Sysmon acts sort of independently from that. It's also looking for these events, and then it stores things into an EVTX file, like an event tracing, sorry. actually stand for? I don't remember. PTX definition. Windows XML event log. Sorry, so not Windows event tracing. So what it does is it's running and recording events very similarly and dumping it into an EVTX file that can also be viewed in event log, an event viewer, but also it can be then shipped and monitored independently through other sources as well. And what Sysmon is doing and what the Windows Event Viewer service is doing is looking at these events happening right here in the system. And Procmon is just another tool for us to look at those events as they're actually happening on the system. They're happening in real time, and they're not recorded by default unless we specify them to be able to record them. Does that kind of give some more clarification, Karina? I hope that kind of clarifies something for everyone else too, is that event viewer is not what is collecting logs. Event viewer allows us to look at EVTX files and inspect them visually. That's what event viewer does. Microsoft by default is capturing logs and storing EVTX files for us by default, just like naturally, before we change our preferences. And event viewer allows us to look at those. Cool. Yeah. Okay, good. It's good. I really want to highlight that because that can be a little bit confusing for students, is like, what is Sysmon actually doing? So it's good to kind of maybe unearth that a little bit. So again, just to kind of summarize that again, every single time you do anything inside of Windows, there is some record of it happening. It's not naturally stored anywhere. It's usually just the operating system will interpret the event. It will be like, oh, like a process was created. Cool. All right, gone. And Microsoft has a service running, capturing those and storing it to EVTX files to be viewed in Event Viewer. And Sysmon is just a non-Microsoft way to do that, built by the community long back. And it's just much more robust, much more enriched, as you saw, and easier to work with. And it's doing the same thing. It's looking at these events like read file, query name info, registry query key, etc. All of these events happening inside of Windows right now. It's capturing it and then storing it into another EVTX file that event viewer can read. Hawk Arbiter saying event viewer is Microsoft. It's been the same thing. I remember looking at event viewer, what, 20 years ago now, plus? It's the same thing. It hasn't changed. Yeah. Two people, Mark and Bryce, founded Windows Internals software in the 1990s. Windows Internals included Sysmon. Later in 2006, Microsoft acquired Windows Internals and now maintains. Yeah. That helped, Anthony. Bruno, yeah, good, cool. Video backtracked. Yeah, all good, cool. Awesome. So let's take a little bit of a break there, and we'll jump back into it. We got a little bit more to go through on the Sysmon side, and then we'll start HelpDesk. But yeah, before that, just like the main point here really to communicate is free, easy to use, and much more enriched and robust capture Windows event logs that you probably should be using in your home network unless you use something more powerful for your home lab. So records of events without an application like Event Viewer or Sysmon are lost? No. Wait, let's clarify that a little bit. So Event Viewer is not the thing capturing system events into logs. Event Viewer is an application like Notepad, like Word, etc., that allows you to look and visualize EVTX files here. It allows you to inspect that database and look at the logs like this. There is a Windows service running that is capturing all the events and storing it to an EVTX file at all times. Sysmon is also doing that as a separate service if we configure it and install it. It's not by default installed. That's all. Hot garbage event viewer is just for viewing events. Yes, it's just to view the events happening that are stored on the. Make more sense? Yeah, cool. Good. Good. Awesome. Okay. Let's take a little bit of a break and we will come back. Go get your second or third coffees, everyone. And get back to it right after that. I also got a different beer at back screen this time. Let's see if this works out properly. Right. We're back. Back in action. We saw a little bit about Windows Event Viewer. Now we're seeing what Sysmon is capable of as a much more enriched logging solution by default instead of Event Viewer. Okay, so gonna do next thing we want to yeah, cool. Okay, so one last thing else you look at over here now. We're gonna say thanks browser, reduce view size too much back on the app. Fair enough. Okay. So let's actually go and dump some of these Sysmon files to our workstation. Other. Okay. On a PowerShell. So we're going to actually run a remote command on our domain workstation using the git win event manlet, and we're going to be looking for the Windows Sysmon operation. We're going to be looking for some of those event ID 11s. You can see what that actually looks like. Open this up with, and like I said, stark difference, right? So compared to what we had on the previous VM, kind of looking at individual events, really difficult and unwieldy to work with, honestly. Look at the enriched logs that we're looking at over here for file created events. We can actually probably find that XLS file. Take a look. Here's the message, right? Here is it in its full entirety. Here's the actual full message context of the log. This is what we saw inside of the Windows Event Viewer itself. This section is the message. And remember all that additional context we can get in the bottom? We have that here too. Computer name, the ID of the event log itself. There's a record ID of it, process ID, thread ID, the domain user, again the image, so what actually ran it, target file. So very powerful tool, and it's literally as simple as going to Sysinternals suite and downloading it from here, or using Chocolatey as a package manager and downloading it from there. But you could download the whole thing from the soft.com. See, under security utilities, Sysmon. This is what you could individually download if you just wanted this package. A lot of good documentation for you to read, kind of see what it's capable and of being able to do. Usage is simple, run it, provided a config file, let it rip. Some examples of how to actually configure it and execute, various event IDs that it's capable of tracking. So, kind of summarize it, really, it's like a bunch of people got together and said the Windows Event Viewer with the default Windows EVTX files is pretty terrible. So let's make something better. And make it easier to work with, and that's what they did. And now here it is available for you. So a lot of good documentation to read. Like I said, you can go and find Sysmon, config, GitHub. There's a lot of user-generated, user-created ones out there. Working through Sysmon configurations like a pro. Yeah, nice. So it looks like some people trying to create some like generator scripts to help you write your config files a lot easier, but you can just grab something off the shelf and then you can export it for what you need. And looking at that again, go inside workstation. And let's actually open up that file so we can see it. Sysmon config.xml, open up with Notepad++. This might actually be... See? Yeah, we've actually got some colored syntax. So like rule group, give it a name that what you would like. And this is based on process create. So put anything you want here. Image condition is Notepad. So like if you wanted to make your own entry, right? Let's go over here. Image condition. Suspicious. Suspicious binary.exe. Like if you found one then on the network, right? Software users shouldn't run. And obviously these are just placeholder names, right? But if you were an IT sysadmin and you want to get better logging on your network for things that users shouldn't be doing, or things that if users were to run would break their computer or anything, right? Like it's literally that simple for you to go in now and edit a config file and put in your requirements inside here and then fire up Sysmon. So fantastic tool for IT and cybersecurity for logging and event analysis. And again, you don't need to stand up a whole SIEM, which is very complex and very resource heavy. You can literally just do this on your workstation at home and test and trial it. But we're going to get you to build a home lab for you to be able to do that in. So yeah, like if users are running NSLOOKUP or PowerShell, we'd be notified of it over here. Here's another rule group for Network Connect. So if destination IP, here you go. If you have a suspicious block list where you want to actually block out some IP addresses that are suspect, put them inside here. So you can be notified if it's actually happening. Process terminate. Driver load. Very cool. So when you're presenting yourself to like recruiters and employers, I want you to be able to talk about this and mention that there are advanced logging solutions out of the box that you can configure with Sysmon for analysis, for IT support and troubleshooting, and also threat hunting. Right? If you didn't catch that, that's basically like doing threat hunting. If I were to go, right, I had susp. They already have it. Suspicious Windows tools. Yeah, like they already have it. If I wanted to do some threat hunting on the network, I would grab this config file, I'd fire up Sysmon, deploy it on a bunch of endpoints, and go and hunt some logs. You can do that. So super cool. Now that brings us to the conclusion of the Windows Enterprise Administration module at this point in time. So we've covered a lot of ground. You've learned how to configure a domain controller, set up an Active Directory environment. You've learned how to set up domain users, configure them and manage them through group policy, enforce security through group policy. We've also enforced PowerShell logging. We've also learned how to do remote administrative commands on the command line as well too. We've learned how to remotely deploy build scripts, software and package administration, and now you've learned how to look at Windows event logs and perform troubleshooting and diagnostics to get under the hood of how something could have happened. And then finally, we topped it off with Sysmon at this point, where now you've got the full package here. The Windows Enterprise Administration module is effectively like a build-a-home lab kit. It's got everything you need to stand up a small enterprise home lab in terms of knowledge and what to do and how to go about it and reference. So, very cool. Very, very cool. So, challenges for this module. First of all, you got a little quiz for you to test your knowledge. Test your knowledge on the module. Karina's saying, sorry for the basic question. Could you possibly review what the Sysmon config XML file does? So it's a config file. This is the set of rules that Sysmon looks to run. So when Sysmon fires up, it has to look at a configuration file, which is this file, this XML file, and we are writing the rules for Sysmon to catch. That's how there's a rule inside here. If target file name contains or ends with .xlsm or .xls, record that entry. And because of that, we were able to record this record over here of creating the XLS file. That's all it is. It's the rules. You tell Sysmon what to capture, and that is a rule file. No. The rules, so it doesn't search for text per se. The configuration file is the conditions that you're telling the Sysmon service to monitor system events that are happening and record them if it matches certain conditions. And those conditions are what you are providing inside of this config file. Yeah, the constraints. Does that make more sense, Karina? Yeah, fair enough. So, kind of going back to the documentation. Right at the top. You run Sysmon with a tac-c and the config file, and whatever is inside the config file, Sysmon will look for. That's it. Kim's saying, so I could have a script running that does stuff as soon as a certain log appears? Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so if you ran a script saying if, like at a high level, let's go inside here, minimize this and go inside of the Windows event viewer. If an event appeared saying like a .xls file occurred, and you had a script running and checking the captured Sysmon events, then you could have a script that then is running on that condition to do certain things for you, like notify or delete the script. You can make your own custom antivirus. Just make it query the log. Maybe every like 30 seconds or something. And that could be like a really rudimentary basic antivirus. I like the way you're thinking. Very cool. That's some good IT, cybersecurity thinking coming from you over there, Kim. I mean, you're running, so the current EVText files on your system are using 310 megs of hard disk file? That's a lot. I mean, you take up space, yeah. Maybe see if you can trim that down a little bit. Him saying, yeah, you got no idea. Yeah, like it gets real deep. Real deep. So let's take a look. Kind of see what they look like. A little bit more enforcement. Whoops. Slide here, and we're going to go to disk. I believe it's in Windows System 32. Win EBT, pretty sure. Logs. Here you go. So Microsoft Windows Sysmon, right? It's a lot of logs. Let's scroll. Here you go. So far we've captured 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte. Here are your EVTX logs. Like these are your indices. This is an index of data. And the Windows event log service is capturing and storing them here, and Sysmon is now storing logs here too. And then we view this inside of Event Viewer to see what's going on. And the logs that are stored to this file are based on the conditions inside of the Sysmon config file. For here. Very cool. And kind of customize them however you want. So very, very cool. I would love to see what you students come up with. I would love to see some of your own config scripts that you come up with and that you test. That'd be really, really cool. Awesome. Okay. So, module quiz you still have to do as well. And we got a couple challenges for you in this module now to really test your skills. The first challenge is for you to set up the HelpDesk users for GoodCorp inside of the Enterprise VM group. And then the second challenge, this one's hard. This is a really hard one. Real hard. So this one's actually setting up a policy called folder redirection. And folder redirection is if you've ever been at work and you have like your personal folder and you store stuff inside there. Well, the surprise here is you're probably not actually storing information on that personal folder on that computer locally. Yeah. You're actually storing your data on the company's centralized file share, and it looks like your home folder. That's what folder redirection is. So this is a challenge for you to do some research here and set up that group policy and try to enforce it. It'll take a little bit of elbow grease, I think, to get this done, but it's a really good challenge to get through. And I think if you can walk through this module and explain and do everything that we're saying, I'd be very surprised if you didn't impress someone on an interview for like a junior sysadmin entry level type of IT. I'd be really surprised. This is a lot of good experience to demonstrate that you can do. Yes, saying setting this up with custom built logs and actionable scripts is an awesome project. Yeah, it's amazing. Brina, this is really cool. You've been curious about rules since the Data and Defense podcast. Yeah. And C has questions on Discord yesterday. Yeah. We're just going deeper now. Learning more about this stuff. Cool. Okay. So let's go and actually jump into the HelpDesk Analyst and Troubleshooting module. We've got a little bit of lecture to talk about first, and then we'll take a break, and then we're going to jump into some of the labs and talk about the HelpDesk ticket structure and challenges. I think that should be good enough to cover for the day. KS, make sure you guys document your challenges. They can turn the projects easily. Oh, yeah. Yes. If that wasn't already like abundantly clear, please. Like all the challenges you're doing here are challenges you can put on your portfolio. Put them on your portfolio, your website, put them on GitHub. Please, like these are amazing challenges. Cool. Okay. Let's talk about HelpDesk, everyone. This is what is HelpDesk? So tell me what y'all think. What do you think HelpDesk is? At this point in time. Level 1 between customer and business. Like a ticketing software. What else? What else you got? We're going to cover some real important stuff here. Jacopo, you're here. Good to have you here. I'll respond back to you soon, by the way. Internal support. Triple T. Whatever upper management's... Oh, man. Triple T help desks. Yep. I can feel that. Triple T definitely help desks. KS, you help people with their day-to-day issues. CI, solving IT problems. Ariel, where people go to get help with accessing devices, software. How users and customers get support. Someone solving other people's IT problems. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Good. I think we got a general good bearing for this. We're going to cover a couple points here. Let's do some talking. So we don't have recorded lecture videos for this section over here. So a little bit of a different format. We're going to actually present it live instead of having a lecture. This is all brand new, brand new stuff that we prepared and we've added in. Very excited about it because we've actually built you a virtual help desk for you to get IT experience in and solve some challenges on your own. So, yes, as some of you have alluded to this point, HelpDesk really is, it's the first point of contact for technical support. First point of contact. So what does that really mean? Technical support. It means when a user cannot utilize the technology at work to do their job, it becomes your problem. That's it. And that is a very, very important thing to understand before getting into IT. It's very easy to get into the mindset of like, why doesn't this user know how to do that? Or like, oh, like again, like they're asking for this again? Or they should know how to do that by now, like I've showed them. That's not IT. You are there in IT to maximize the amount of time someone has to utilize their technology to perform their role at work as requested and structured by some manager and ultimately senior management. That's your job in IT. And you do that by being their first point of contact for technical support. It's and it's kind of why I'm highlighting over here is that it's about keeping the business running smoothly. That's a really important thing. That's a really, really responsible role. You have a lot of value and a lot of weight. If someone can't do their job with their workstation, that could cost a lot of time and money. So let's get into revenue. Let's get into the business side of IT, because this is an important thing to open up with over here. And this applies to cybersecurity too. IT and cybersecurity are non-revenue generating departments. You don't make the business money. You don't generate the business money. And businesses are made, for-profit businesses are made and sustained and grow by making money. So you will always be on the lens and target and chopping block even to minimize as much as possible. Always. Always, always, always. You need to understand this. Your job in IT, more often than not, is not going to be about using the latest, greatest tools and technology with the easiest solutions for you to do your job. Far, far from it. Your job is going to be able to be creative and effective with your budget. And this is where knowing and understanding how IT, all this stuff actually works. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you like it is, Hog Average. Yeah. And DT, yeah. So I'll get to you, Doug, in a moment on that. Like it's a good point. Kind of allude there. I've said it in the stream too before. Just going to rip off that Band-Aid, tell you right away. The sooner you come to terms and understand this, the sooner you will be happier with your job at work, and the sooner you will feel more valuable. Because your value will come in this statement right here. It's your ability to be creative and effective with your budget. It's not about buying the latest server and updating the latest software and getting the latest tools all the time. That's not going to be your reality. Your reality is going to be, my company can't afford a SIEM. How do I hook up Sysmon for free? Or your reality will be, my company's server, a 2016 server, is on end of life, and we're not due for an upgrade for another year. How do I maintain that server without it failing? And how do I keep it secure? Those are your realities in IT. To provide the services for your employees to be able to do their job. It is always going to go that route. And I really need to get that point across home, because if you look at it under that lens, then that means your knowledge of how things work is going to be what serves you the best. Not your ability to memorize certain things or the best practices and just repeat them. That's not going to be the most value. If you go to a workplace and you're assigned an old legacy network or old things that are just hanging on, and workstations that are sorely due for an upgrade, and you can make that work, one, you'll be paid well, you'll be rewarded, and you'll be recognized, and you're going to gain a ton of experience being able to do that at the same time. So, to kind of go to Doug's point above there, right? Saying, but they secure assets and financial security. So, how do you do that? How do you secure all that? on a shoestring budget. Celebrant saying, and when things are running smooth, you're invisible, so be aware of what you are doing and the value. Yes, awesome. I'm going to highlight that in a moment too. So why are you in the chopping legs? Because the revenue does drain income, but you maintain your job security and position to company by. Yes. Yes. Good. Yes. Fantastic. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Calibran. Yes. Okay. That's exactly it. And I've said it. I've summarized it in my statement that I really like to share and put on to students. Is that if you ask for money, you will get advice. But if you give advice, you will get money. And your job in IT is to be able to provide that advice. And if you can give good, valuable, unique advice that your stakeholders cannot find elsewhere, you will be treated very well. And you're going to do a very good job with it. And you will be respected and rewarded, and you will move up, and you will continue to move up in seniority and positions and make a difference. And you will be happy about it. Yeah. Hey, Steven. Yeah, Hoggarb just saying, yeah, exactly. They don't, and that's kind of what Celebrand's saying up above, right? Is that when things are good, that's like, you're not going to be spoken about when things are good. Your job is to provide no news as good news. But you have to say that. Like, please take this note away. You need to be able to communicate and explain the value that you are bringing in company meetings, stand-ups, broadcast, communications. There's a saying that the squeaky wheel gets the grease for a reason. I'm not saying that you need to be arrogant. I'm not telling you to go run around and constantly toot your own horn every single day. No one likes that. But what I am telling you to do is to make it a point to highlight and provide the value of what you're bringing and make that clear and make it known. And always be up for giving advice on how you can maintain that and do it better. And you will have a very rewarding career. And what that looks like is kind of what Doug is talking about. It's talking about staying ahead. It's talking about keeping up with things. It's talking about providing something unique. It is about that. And I think that is a very important reality for students to kind of take away with, that working in IT is really not so much, it's not a job. It is a career. That's a very different thing. Careers require maintenance and upskill. Yeah. Yeah, it's like saying you're also in a high risk and high reward position. So you're paid well and rewarded well for your knowledge to be able to overcome some very, very tough situations that can happen on the spot, on the fly. Y'all remember what happened with CrowdStrike? How much money they lost? I'm sure that the internal team member that was able to quickly get to that solution and find out what happened and get a patch out there was very well recognized and rewarded, I'm sure. And praised of like, oh my god, you did it. Okay, now let's find out what like happened like in the back end and everything, but we're back online kind of thing. Budget is always a restriction in IT. Absolutely. You even have to argue for getting a Mac for cross-platform development. They're expensive, but the only Apple hates more developers to use the devices. Yeah. Yeah. Always, 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 always. So I cannot stress it enough. And this is why you've heard me in other streams of being like, don't spend your time memorizing port lists and protocols and being a dictionary. I have to stress that more, because that's not value. Value is you have $100,000 in annual budget to provide a service to a team, make it work. And if you can't, we're going to find someone that can. That's the reality of it. You know what? And it's not going to be about how well you memorize every single port protocol. It's going to be about how well you can analyze the business needs compared to what your IT services can provide internally, what resources you have, your limitations. And that all comes down to just general knowledge about how things work. General knowledge, okay? That's really important to take away as you now start to embark on the realities of working in IT. Steven's saying that you heard people say it's a lifestyle. Yeah, it kind of is. I'll give you an example. How many of you here know tradespeople? People that work in trades. How many of you know like carpenters or plumbers or electricians or general contractors? Yeah? Yeah, you know them? Do they not have a lifestyle? They kind of have like a personality, like a fit, like they look the part. They have a shop. Yeah, they go and they work on things. They upskill themselves. They go and they practice. It is a lifestyle. This is not a job. This is a career. And that's an important takeaway as well too. So you're going to hear us at Level Fact, we really like to stress the importance of and this is for everyone on the recording as well too, to kind of take away and think about this, right? Is two things. One, okay, first thing is, please don't be looking at this of like, I just want to make money. Like, you could, like, if that's like your primary driving force, but just be ready to also maintain, and you're gonna have to learn a lot as you go to make money. And if you wanted to just make a lot of money, maybe go work in finance. Two, second thing, which is also really important, pick a target of where you want to go and focus on it. And this is why we have the SOC 100 course over here, that we're trying to take you from a certain point and we're keeping you away from shiny things. We're not being like, oh, here's like every little thing about IT and cybersecurity. There's things that we're brushing on and moving on, and things that we're focusing on for that reason. We're giving you a targeted path because of what we were just talking about before. If you needed to hire a plumber, you're going to go look for a plumber. You're not going to go look for someone who is a carpenter that has maybe touched plumbing before. Or an electrician that sort of knows a little bit about plumbing too, right? You're going to go and look for the specialist. And I like to relate cybersecurity and IT a lot to the trades in that regard. Is it's important to be proficient and competent in a target area. So have a target focus in a job that you want to specialize towards and go at it in IT. Yeah. Ariel's saying, yes, it can be so distracting. You've had to constantly close things out to remind yourself. Yes, I know. And look, I get it. It's fun. It's new. It's exciting. Like, oh, look at this thing. I've learned this new tool. I'm able to do something with it. But remember, it is about business. Okay? IT is a business expense. I saw a message up there before. So everyone in chat now, how do the interdependencies between quantum key protocols using the blockchain place? Everyone in chat now. I feel like Look, blockchain and decentralization is just another method of delivering IT services. It's got its own pros and cons. I guess that's my answer to question over there. It's got its own pros and cons. You want to be good at it, specialize in it. You'll be rewarded for it. CI saying is traded because you're learning skills. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly, Doug. Exactly. People first, right? It's a business. You have a specific goal, Ariel. Put first things first. Yeah, yeah, nice. Little 7 habits there for you. KSJ, IT can be an investment too. You have the potential to boost productivity. Yes, exactly. So KS. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can provide advice to manage it and be like, hey, wait a minute. We have like 100 tickets a year that are user account requests, like resets. I think we can automate that. I think I can build a script, or I can build a tool, or grab something, because it's cost us, I don't know. It's cost us $5,000 in hours of the tickets, like the users locked out, time lost, etc. We've lost $5,000. Let me put together a tool. It's going to cost $2,000, and it's going to save the company $3,000 as a result, because we're going to eliminate that issue. That is your value in IT there. Be like, okay, I've now identified a costful expense of the business from an IT perspective. Here's a solution. This is what I need to get it done. Would you approve it? You see what everything I said there has it's built off the knowledge of IT, like how this stuff works, but the value is the creativity of how do you now improve the business overall. You're just like everyone else. Everyone is there they have a function to support the business. Yeah. Triple T, which is why HelpDesk for company I work for is more HelpDesk as a network engineer. Yeah. So Triple T, like you're going to see, I'm going to talk about that actually shortly here, but a lot of HelpDesk has a ton of overlap with other things. Hot garbage HelpDesk doesn't have to solve all the problems, just know where to send tickets to resolve lowest level. Yeah. True. Yeah, talk money to them and listen. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, really important things, like really important takeaways over here. Remember. Okay, so some of the purposes that HelpDesk likes to solve, some of like the core things over here, right? At a technical level. User support, we mentioned that. You need to support the users. Incident management, also known as troubleshooting. Looking at logs. There you go. We just looked at Event Viewer in Sysmon. That's what you're going to do over here. Service requests. New software installed? Well, you know how to do that. Yeah, setting up Sysmon. Communication hub is another thing. If there is some type of technological outage, like if there's a disaster or an event that happens that takes out your communications, guess what? That's an IT problem. So you're also the general message hub of sharing information. That's also a pretty big purpose. And then knowledge sharing is huge. Yeah, exactly. Yes, documenting and adding knowledge. That's right here. Your knowledge base. A lot of IT is documentation and writing and sharing. Or video either. Like it doesn't matter. As long as you can communicate that knowledge and share it. Remember, there's no way you're going to learn all of this. So you're going to have a bunch of specialists that have to rely on one another as like team members of like a special ops force that all do their own thing, but they have to rely on one another. And you need to share messages to get that job done. So you're going to be doing that. You will be working with documentation. So what does a help desk workflow look like? It's pretty straightforward. Cybersecurity is the same kind of way. You have an issue, something happens, like there is some problem with everything we've talked about right now. And then there is a platform. It's typically called like a case management platform or a ticket platform. And the user interfaces with it. They fill in information. And then that system takes that information and generates a ticket based on what the user has provided. That ticket is your work order. It is a work order request. To kind of give a better example too on what I mean by that, have any of you ever had to, like, if you lived in an apartment or like rented somewhere or what have you, and you had to put in a work order for like maintenance or the superintendent or someone to come in and fix something? Same thing. That's all what it is. You are the end user is just putting in a work order for you to complete. So you have a bunch of work orders working in IT. And then this case management platform, it provides priority, urgency, tracking, history, all that stuff. That's what the case management platform is. And it's kind of like what we saw in that dashboard. There's a lot of data visualization. Good analogy? Yeah. Yeah. Look, whenever any of you are in doubt, just think back to the trades, and it probably applies to IT and cybersecurity. This is very, very much like a trade. Very much. It is a service that costs, that people pay for to solve their problems that they don't have to be specialists in. They're outsourcing their knowledge to you. They're trusting you. Be like they don't want to become an IT professional, just like a lot of people don't want to become plumbers. Same thing. Some of us are network plumbers, that we go inside the network and we find out what's going on, where the bottleneck is, where it's stuck, and we plumb it out. I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know if plumbing it out is a thing, but I'm going to go with that. That's kind of what happens. Bandwidth, bottleneck, you got to go find out what's happening. So, what does it kind of look like, right? A user might not be able to access their shared drive. This would be assigned by the case management platform to whoever is like a tier 1 technician on the board. Tier 1 technician looks at it, diagnoses it, and is able to resolve it if they can, and they document and explain what they did in the ticket. They then close the ticket. Done. Next work order. So, there's really two forms of IT. There's in-house IT, and then there is outsourced IT. Posture fix over there. There we go. So there's in-house IT, and then there's outsourced IT. In-house has pros and cons just like outsourcing does. So here's a little bit of a table. In-house, you have like full control. You know, like if there's ever something wrong, manager can go and it's going to happen. They're just going to walk into the IT office or the server room if you're inside there and say like, hey, I've got an issue. Or if there's something like physically wrong with your workstation or the server, like it's easy to get to it. You have full control. You can really understand what's going on and you can change things on the fly. So a lot of good control. Costs a lot though to pay someone full time to be running around your office. Imagine that there were only like 2 of you, right? Like you have a small home business. You're not going to go in and pay like $80,000 for a sysadmin to go and sit next to you for the like 2 problems you'll get that year with IT. So not a good usage of in-house IT there, right? But maybe at a company where you have like a couple thousand employees, maybe, you know what? Maybe it's worth paying a little bit more to have some people in house that are readily on the fly and they have relationships with people. They know how the business works better. That's what you're paying for. Scalability as well too. something to consider with in-house IT is, well, whatever you've got is whatever you've got. It doesn't scale beyond that, so that's a bit of a hit. And then, of course, the expertise. However good your IT team is however good your IT service is going to be. Can't really say it any better. Now, MSPs. So these are called managed service providers. And what that is outsourcing. We've all heard the term outsourcing. But it's like saying, you know what, there's like 50 companies in the area that are all made up of 2 to 3 people, and they don't need an IT person each. So maybe that's a good spot for an MSP to pop up. And it can provide all the IT services for all of those companies, and then they offer that on a contract of like, okay, we'll have IT support hours during 9 to 5, normal, that's what you're paying for, and whenever something pops up, we'll get to you within X amount of time based on how much you're going to pay. You pay more, we'll prioritize you first. It's just a business. And then you get charged more if it's off hours, kind of thing. So it's got some benefits that way. But you definitely lose some control. Like you if something goes really wrong and you don't have anyone around who doesn't really understand things, like you could be in trouble. So it's not always a good solution. But it can scale. And you typically have a larger team. Like an MSP will typically have, it depends, but you might have like a team on the desk of maybe like 7 to 12 analysts that are ranging in different tiers of specialty and different things, and you're kind of all working as a unit. You've all got your workstations and your dashboards, and you're all kind of working together, handling tickets in different ways. So depending on your business issue, you might have access to a lot more expertise. Pros and cons. Triple T saying yes to the MSP for easy software download. What are the admin credentials again? Yeah. All the time. All the time. Even saying if I have an IT related issue, it's called Nick Burns. That guy. Wait, I don't actually know who Nick Burns is. I feel like, should I know? Your company computer guy? Wait a minute. Why does that sound so familiar? Will it say MSP in the job description? Saturday Night Live? I guess it's not, maybe I haven't seen that one. CI, so will it say MSP in the job description? Yeah, sometimes it'll be like right inside there. It'll say something just like, maybe like HelpDesk Analyst 1, 2, or 3 or something. And then it'll say somewhere inside of it that this is working for like an MSP. Or you might be called like a HelpDesk associate or something. But it'll tell you somewhere in the job description that it's for an MSP or if it's in-house. Now, chances are, if you're brand new to this stuff and you're looking to get started, you're probably going to end up at an MSP, because that's typically where like entry level, it's like tier 1 juniors. Yeah. It's a good spot to start. And like SK is saying, so the environments are definitely overwhelming. It's a little bit like trial by fire, a little. But the growth is insane. Yeah. So much experience. Whereas if you got a job as like a junior sysadmin, helping out a sysadmin at an in-house company of IT, you'll get experience, but it might be like really limited just to what you're doing there. And it may not actually be too applicable to other companies. So an MSP could give you experience from like 50 different companies. So many different issues. Like you're going to learn a ton. I personally encourage and recommend students, if they're able to, go and start at like an MSP and get some good experience there first. Highly recommend. So, bit of a common structure. Take a break out. So a bit of a common structure of how like an MSP works. You've got like your tier 1 and tier 2. You probably have some type of dedicated networking team. MSP is rotating. Yeah, it depends. It depends. Like you might have shift work, etc. It's really going to depend. But yeah, like an MSP structure, you'll have your general help desk, like the basic stuff that's happening. And then you're going to have a networking team. So that's kind of like your NOC, your network operations center. And this is much more around like network related issues like bottlenecks, bandwidth, latency, routing, connection issues, optimization, you know, like things like that we've touched base on, but we haven't gone a whole lot into. So that's something more on the NOC side, and that's actually going to have a lot more knowledge around like switches and routers, and getting like physically involved with them at times as well too if something really bad happens. So that's a little bit more of a specialty. We're training you more for like the help desk side, not so much the NOC. If you want to get into network engineering, that's a great route to go. And then typically MSPs will have field technicians as well, or you might just be assigned some field tech work where if you can't solve the issue remotely, you have to go in-house. And you don't want to because that costs a lot of money. But that might have to happen, like, or even just like big projects like server upgrades, etc. And then some MSPs nowadays actually have like specialized cybersecurity arms. And that's where you get these other types of MSPs called like an MSSP. And that's actually like managed security services provider. But truthfully, a lot of MSPs nowadays are just offering security, so it's sort of like expected. And it's kind of light. It's just like, you know, here's an antivirus kind of running. We're going to get an alert when the user downloaded something. We're just going to wipe their workstation and reinstall it. So that's what you can kind of expect on that side. But that's kind of the general makeup of what an MSP is like. And when you start in IT, you're probably going to end up here. You're going to be on the help desk side when you first start. Now, if some of you are more knowledgeable and spending more time in your home lab and stuff, you might actually end up here, or you might actually end up here. So it's kind of up to you how hard you want to go. So let's give some examples of what this looks like so you can get a better idea. Must be tough. See, I say must be tough to work night shift in NOC or SOC. Some people love it. I've done my night shifts. I don't mind them every now and then. Night shifts are interesting. You get time to do like deep work and catch up and documentation and projects and stuff. And then like the worst things that could possibly happen, of course, always happen at night. Server fails or switch fails. Always. Like something bad's gonna happen at night. It's always overnight. But if you work in IT, you're probably gonna work overnight at some point, I would say. High chance, high likelihood. When you have to update, run patches at like 3 in the morning, it's gonna happen. Maybe once a month. Yeah, at night or Fridays, of course, yeah. So just be prepared for that. Working in IT, at some point, you're probably going to be doing shifts. It just comes with it. It's not going to be all the time. Now, some people, like I said, they love night shifts and shift work. Some people are just like, yep, throw me in the graveyard shift. That's what I want to do. Sometimes it pays more. Sometimes it's just more preferable. Like, again, it's up to you. So, first line support. Sort of like your help desk tier 1 kind of thing. Basic stuff. Password resets. Printer's not printing. And if you can't figure out the basic stuff, you just escalate it. And you pass it off with a ticket. So it's help desk tier 1. If you can get through all of SOC 100-1, you're probably more proficient than a tier 1, honestly. Like if you get through this entire course and you're like, yeah, you know, like I'm feeling pretty comfortable with it all. Yeah, you're more proficient than a tier 1. Tier 2. Tier 2 is more for the advanced stuff. So like network connectivity, software bugs, etc. Service is failing like really badly, like can't find out why. A lot more knowledgeable. It's not a big leap, but it's definitely more knowledgeable, more experience required. And then tier 2 plus. Yes, yeah, you'd rather sleep at night. I'm the same way. I like going to bed early, waking up early. Feels good. Ariel worked to call as a doula. And overnights with triplets for a few months. So that's familiar, but I couldn't do. Yeah, rough. Yep. Yeah, feel you. This is not for me either. It's okay now and then, and you know what? It's actually kind of nice every now and then. You know, it's a nice break. I didn't overly mind it so long as it was spaced apart. For a good while, I was doing at least an overnight shift once a month. It wasn't so bad. And if you time it, and you take your day off, like your 2 days off kind of thing, like right after that, it's actually not that bad, because then like you finish up in the morning and it kind of feels like you got that whole day. Then just stay up and drink lots of coffee. You got like a whole extra day. You get like 3 days off, even though you're tired in the first day. It's not. But yes, tier 2 roles. So tier 2 is when we actually start to see cybersecurity. Tier 2 is actually when we start to see some sysadmins. So this is when we start to see like KS over here. Like he's a sysadmin. Start to see when you start getting some more experience. You all are, I'm confident if you can get through this and the next home lab prep, you're all enough to kind of go outside and be like, yeah, I could go and get like a junior sysadmin role, and I'm gonna be a little rough at first, but it's not gonna be beyond me. I just don't have the full experience of it, but knowledgeable, yes. So the sysadmins over here, network administrators, so the more like actually maintaining and designing the network to some degree, and some of like the major design constraints. This is like now tier 2 plus category, and cybersecurity. Now is when you're probably looking at becoming a cybersecurity analyst, which we're going to continue training you up to in these courses, because it's nice if you could do some of the IT work. It's definitely great if you can. You don't necessarily have to. It'd be good if you could. You're going to learn a lot, but you don't necessarily have to. There's been a lot of students of ours that have just graduated and taken our full training, and they've started as like a junior SOC analyst. That's doable. It is up to you how much you're going to invest, but regardless, the knowledge is there. Whether you work in the field or not, this tier 1 and 2 knowledge is going to be expected if you start as a cybersecurity analyst. Just keep that in mind. So it's up to you however you want to get that experience, which you're doing now. Well, and then cloud specialists as well. So this is when things start to branch, but it all starts with IT. Everything else after that is a subset, or a superset, if you really want to call it that. It all starts with IT. And we're going to talk exactly why. Next little lecture. Cool. Let's take a break. Let's take a break. Abby has discovered that there are 87,591 active HelpDesk analyst jobs in the US. Yes. A lot of good work out there for you. Triple T, it is helpful to know what is normal and what is not, especially when you explain to the CEO something was a computer. Yes. Ho ho ho, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Triple T, for highlighting that. The most common response, especially from upper management, when you come in and save the day, is, well, what happened? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Is that normal, though? You're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it. And the last thing you want to say is, I don't know. that's the last thing you want to say. The last thing. And yes, so if you know the baseline, you can be like, yeah, that's actually a normal operating procedure. Or if it's not, you'd be like, no, this is actually a bit of an anomaly. It's unusual. And then you know what they're going to say? I guess, if you tell someone, oh, like, this is unusual, or this is like an anomaly, what do you think, what would you say back to that? Especially if it's your computer. Kill it with fire. Yes, it's got a mind of its own. Kill it with fire. Exactly. Yes. How did it happen? Yeah. Yeah, how did it happen? Are we safe? What needs to be done? Because what they're actually asking you there is, well, how do we know it's not going to happen again? And a lot of the time, a lot of the time they're just going to be worried like that they did something, you know? And they're just looking for some comfort and closure to know that it's like it wasn't their fault. And that they're probably not going to be the cause of it again. And they want to know that you're there for them. That's what it is. Like, they just want to know that you're there to support them, and that you're a knowledgeable resource. Spend the money we told you to. Yeah. I mean, look, I've said that. I mean, I have said that flat out before. Oh, like, the server failed last night. Yeah. It's end of life. Are you gonna spend the money to replace it yet? Well, it's not completely dead, is it? Right? Like, it'll reboot. Like, we can diagnose the issue. Like, we can call you in on the overnight. I mean, you can pay me for that, as long as you're okay with it. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, cool. All right, let's keep it up. Next time it happens, hey, same issue. Server's about to die any day now. Yeah, but you know, we can still bring it back up. Cool. All right. Going at it. And then finally the server dies. Dead. Dead. Okay, yeah, I guess we need to replace it now. Oh. Should have replaced it last year, but I guess you're okay with the outages. Look, it's the nature of the business. Like I said, you can't get mad about it. You're there to provide that consultation and say what it is. That's it. It's not, don't make it personal. Now, obviously, if the job is really toxic, yeah, then that's a whole different story. Obviously, stay there. But that's not a good environment for you. You got to have a little bit of a thick skin too. Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back. Yeah, I can only give recommendations. Hope they agree. That's it. It's the same. And look, all of you that might be thinking, you might be thinking, oh, like I'm not gonna have to deal with that in cybersecurity. Oh, yes, you will. Same thing, just a different lens. You're just gonna tell them what the vulnerabilities are and what the risk is, and then it is their decision to make, not yours, if they want to accept that risk or not. So, okay, break time. Go stretch, move up, water, etc. Right. Back in action. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, everyone. So, let's cover the most burning point of discussion, I should say. And that is the misconception of I didn't make it because I started in IT instead of cybersecurity. And my goal was cybersecurity. Or I want a job in cybersecurity, not IT. Let's talk about why those two statements or those two mindsets are really, really counterproductive for you. Okay? As I mentioned before this, it is okay if you want to start at a different tier. If that is your target, start where you want to start. That's entirely up to you. But I will advise a lot of caution in focusing on a certain perspective that tries to separate cybersecurity from IT from a position that it's better or it's not relative or it's somehow, or IT is somehow less than the cybersecurity side. And it is there. That is a very natural and real perception that students might get started in this field of training and they want to become a cybersecurity professional and they feel almost let down if they need to start with IT. Maybe they need a job like right away and they're not qualified for cybersecurity work. So they start with IT and they feel like they didn't make it. I've heard it. I've seen it. I've been training students in this field now since what, since 2020, a little before that actually. Even a little bit myself when I first started back in 2015. I had this idea that unless I got to a target cybersecurity labeled position, then it means like I didn't really make it. A fear almost, if you will. And really it's just because of a lack of understanding and also a lot of marketing. A lot of marketing out there. A lot. You know, cybersecurity means like you're an ethical hacker. It means you get paid the big bucks, that you go in and you hack or defend networks kind of thing. That it's some type of like elite tier of tech. There's a lot of that marketing out there. So let's break down some of these boundaries and barriers and and maybe reduce some misconceptions a little bit. CI, can IT help desk be done remotely in a wheelchair? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. A lot of good IT work be done at home and even IT help desk work. Yes. And I think if you state that, companies will be okay with it. Okay, so let's talk about some of the overlap. All right, let's actually kind of walk through a little bit of what this might look like from a tier 1 perspective. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Doug and Cass in chat. Yeah. That's the beauty of IT. So let's talk about like a tier 1 type of issue that might occur. And I'll preface this and say, at one point, cybersecurity was just part of IT. It was just built into it. That was the expectation. It just didn't have the fancy labels. So I'm going to walk you through a couple examples of where you're going to see that overlap. So let's say we have an issue over here, right? So a user calls in and says, I can't log into my account. If you're a tier 1 help desk technician or an analyst, you're probably going to start with like, okay, typo, you know, like maybe they mistyped the password, account lockout, etc. So you kind of do like this walkthrough, this like step-by-step going through it. You're going to check the account for lockouts due to multiple failed login attempts. You're going to ask the user maybe if they received any unusual emails or login alerts. And you're also going to escalate the issue if the account has been compromised. That's very cybersecurity-esque. You're looking for failed login attempts. You're wondering if the user has opened or executed any malicious or suspicious emails. And then you escalate if you don't know how to triage it. Now, a help desk resolution at that point might just be to reset the account that's been locked out. But along the way, on your investigation, you might have noticed 10 failed login attempts from an unknown IP. That's not part of your network. As a help desk analyst, like, you're going to flag that. That's not normal. That's cybersecurity work that you'll be doing at like tier 1 help desk. You will be doing cybersecurity related tasks. It will be part of your job. It just won't be labeled so clearly as such. And it wasn't at one point. It's just been expanded to be so much more of a dedicated domain of IT. Remember, it's a subset because of how vast our attack surfaces have gotten, that you needed to sort of splice out the user administration of the IT side and just stick with that being called IT, and then splice out the security related side of IT and call it cybersecurity. But it is IT. It always was. It's just now been labeled as such so you can focus on it because of the attack surface has seen a massive increase. Phones, smart devices, computers, video game consoles, watches, like, you name it, right? Like, they're everywhere. It's too much. So you actually now need dedicated cybersecurity focused professionals. But it's actually just IT. Let's look at a tier 2. Okay. So the tier 2 is maybe like escalated and looking into this issue that the tier 1 had. The overlap is actually going to increase. So the tier 2 technician at a help desk would be doing what? They'd be analyzing logs. They'd be looking to system configurations just to verify what actually happened. Now, you're also going to be looking at the domain controller. You're probably going to have some more access to that level of knowledge and access permissions. You're probably going to look at the IP address and correlate that on your known baseline. And you're probably either going to be working with a firewall or adjacent to someone who is. And maybe adding that IP address to a firewall or to a block list somewhere or some type of security control. Yes, creating rules. Yeah, rules and policies. Cybersecurity. So during your resolution as a tier 2 analyst, after you investigate the logs and figure out what's going on and add a block list, you might actually come across that the attack is coming from a known botnet IP address. So what are you going to do? You're going to work with your network team or yourself and block out that entire IP address range. All cybersecurity work. That is, cybersecurity analysts do that as well. Again, overlap. Tier 2 and up, it's way more specialized. And it gets way more relative. So if a GRC analyst working governance, risk, and compliance notes that the password complexity does not meet the requirements for a security compliance audit, guess who's going to make the group policy to improve that security policy? You, in IT, doing a cybersecurity related task. Another example. So a phishing email coming in, the tier 2 cybersecurity analyst would investigate it. They'd look for logs. They'd look at the email itself. They'd quarantine it. They'd look at attachments. Again, all stuff that you're going to do in IT as well. You are doing cybersecurity work in IT, and I really want to make that clear. So when we tell students to start with IT as a job, that's fine. Like, that's good. Like, you're going to get IT and cybersecurity experience. You're going to get both arms. Now, what we tell students is obviously If you want to specialize in security, then don't stay in an IT position where you're just resetting user accounts all day. You obviously want to continue specializing and looking more into the security-centric components of IT. So getting more involved with higher tier 2 and tier 2 plus types of IT positions, looking deeper into logs, looking into group policies, firewalls, separation of the network, all that stuff. That is all directly transferable to security-specific positions. CI is saying, side question, did you self-pay your Sec Plus? I paid for myself. KS, glorified password resetter. Exactly, yeah. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Now, by the same token, you know, we've had students come our way that decided to go with IT to start, where there was a good security element to it, and they actually loved it. They're just like, you know what? I love this. Like, I love working with the end user. I love working with the business team, like the business management team. I love working with projects and infrastructure and building things. That's cool. So leave yourself a little open as well, too, as you start. Keep in mind, IT roles will be a lot more user-oriented. Like, you're going to have a good relationship built with them, whereas security is sort of like tucked a little bit away. There's a lot less user interaction. Lot less. So if you are a people person and you like working with people and maybe in limited manners, you might actually be more satisfied with IT work and just stay on that route and get more into like server administration and like higher sysadmin tiers and so forth. Keep that in mind. So let's talk about like troubleshooting as well, because this is important. Troubleshooting. Here's a little statement that might help stick with you. Troubleshooting is how you get from something is wrong to here's what happened and here's how we fix it. This is the expectation. Okay? This is your expectation. You will eventually be the person that someone comes to and says, and someone's telling you something is wrong. So try to get more into the hat and put on that hat of like, I need to figure out what happened. I need to do some research. Troubleshooting is so important. So let's kind of talk about what that could look like. Troubleshooting a cybersecurity incident as well in IT. So let's say we have a scenario that a company detects unusual network activity. Data is being transferred to an unknown external server. This is flagged as suspicious because it goes against the baseline. So HelpDesk would start by confirming that there are no scheduled backups or file transfers that are happening. So that shouldn't be happening. Cybersecurity Analyst is going to maybe jump in, look at the firewall logs, looking at the source device, and so forth. And then you might have to actually isolate it. But these are both interchangeable. They're both troubleshooting abilities and both very interchangeable. Like saying, yeah, you will never hear Anthony or I or other instructors say that cybersecurity is above anyone else. Yeah, absolutely not. Cybersecurity flows in all pieces of an organization. Yep. If there is suspicious activity in financial sector specific applications you have to work with, the banking, application manager, understand, etc. Yep. Cybersecurity flows into everything. Yes. It is more of a mindset of always looking at how to secure and find the threats and everything. Okay, so your supervisor always says, think about how it works and break it down and you'll always be closer to solving the issue. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, guys. Yeah. Fully agree. Yeah. Cool. So I think it gets the point home across. Like, these are just some more examples. I can go on about it all day. I think the chats, I think you guys are generally getting it. I want to talk a little bit about business size. You're going to hear this term as well too, like SMBs, and not server message block protocol, but like small to medium sized businesses. And what you need to understand getting in the field is that there are differences in the size of the company, what we talked about. Some of the the most important takeaways are these for small, medium-sized businesses where you're probably going to land, unless you go like government or large corporation. You really, really need to understand that these small companies typically don't have security done properly or at all, or they just outsource it. They probably have a very limited understanding of their cybersecurity maturity when you're dealing with small companies. It's probably quite limited. So having a mindset going in of trying to improve the overall security right away is probably going to provide immediate value. Backup solutions are going to be essential. So think about backups. You want to be able to leverage off-the-shelf solutions as much as possible because, again, small company, smaller budget, smaller revenue. It's going to be about you being creative. Training employees is also going to be important. Human layer. And then, of course, outsourcing where necessary. These are some really important concepts to kind of like throw at you at like a small, medium-sized business. If you can think about these as solutions, it's going to help. That's what business holders are going to be looking for. Just really kind of want to hammer that point across. Essentially the same role. Okay. Last little bit of thing I want to talk about in this section. So I want to talk about like these concepts of playbooks and procedures. So we mentioned, and I hope this actually gives you all a lot of relief. There is a bit of a fear that students can have when they start thinking about getting into the field of like, oh my God, I need to know everything. Said that before, but there's also the fear of, I need to know how to solve every issue that I get. That is not a reality. I would love to meet an IT or cybersecurity professional that says, oh yeah, just give me any ticket. I can solve them all. I hear that. That's a red flag. That is not a reality. You're going to know how to generally... Yeah. So you've had many situations in which I honestly don't know. Yeah, I don't... Yeah. You're not going to know. So don't go into like these interviews thinking that you need to be able to solve any tickets that's thrown at you. Don't go into the job thinking, oh yeah, like I need to know how to do it all. You won't. You're just going to put a lot of pressure on yourself. So there's this concept of playbooks and SOPs. Think of a playbook as like a recipe. Have any of you ever cooked at home and you found like you like this one-time recipe that you made? Or like you found online to make something and then you never made it again. Something like that. That's what a playbook is like. If you run into an issue and there is no documented solution, you're going to have to look it up and come across and find some solution. And you may not actually solve it. That's also reality. But you're still going to find a solution, and then you document it. And then we get these things called playbooks and SOPs, standard operating procedures. This is documentation that we've been talking about a little bit in chat over here. So once you've been through it, you now document it so that if you're a new help desk analyst, you started on the job, and a ticket comes in of performing some type of group policy change, and you've never seen or even heard of that group policy before, first thing you're going to do, you're going to go look up documentation. Like, do we have this documented anywhere? If not, okay, well, can I figure it out? Look online, research it, come up with a solution, or escalate it. That's it. That's what you're going to be doing in IT. And the better your company is with documentation, the better everyone's job is going to be. So that's where we get these playbooks. And guess what? Cybersecurity has playbooks as well. In incident response, when we have a security incident or event, we build playbooks to respond to them, to contain them. Best practices, tried and true tested steps to follow, because you don't know everything there either. So I hope you can shake yourself out of the mentality that you need to be an expert, and that's not what you need to do. You just need to be knowledgeable on how things work. And then you're either going to have documentation that'll tell you what to do, or you're going to just go look it up and stitch together yourself and then record that documentation for the next person and pay it forward. Does that give you some relief? I hope that gives you some relief. Please tell me if it does. Like, no, you do not need to know how to do every single lab in this course. Kind of crazy. Impossible. Like, good. Your interviews and when you start are going to be like technical scenarios. They're going to ask you some questions, you know, like some of the stuff we've seen. Like a user is reporting that they can't log in. Walk me through how you would solve that. That's what your questions are going to be like on the interview. Or, you know, a user downloaded something and they ran it. What do you think happened? What would you look for and why? That's what your questions are going to be like. They're not going to be like, tell me the exact option inside this group policy that you can change and the types of configurations you can alter and what kind of commands are available. Not happening. It's thinking, it's mindset, it's process. It's like, okay, well, we'll start here, we'll go there, we'll do that. Rin is saying, this is great, all this that you've written up here, Anthony, all stuff. Yeah, this is why we include it. Like, I'm glad to hear you find it useful, because this is, yeah, it's kind of like, hey, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. It's not going to be as hard either, and it's probably not exactly what you were thinking either. So, yeah. Good stuff to know. So you're going to have these SOPs, these playbooks, and how you're actually going to do your job is going to be based on that. This is why, like, we've talked about from the OSI model. Karina's saying, you needed to invent the wheel. You don't. So here, okay, I'm going to tell you something, and it might sound kind of strange at first, but I want you to be the laziest IT professionals in the world. The laziest. Okay? I want you to be so lazy that if you hear or see you have to do the same task twice, that you get so fed up and you're like, absolutely not. I will never want to do that task a third time. I'm going to find a way to automate it so I never have to worry about it again. That is how you're going to be very good in this field. Is you're going to be lazy as hell. You're going to find all the ways to automate and simplify your life using technology. Don't worry, Hot Garbage. There's no way you're going to automate yourself out of a job. There's always more to do. But you want to get rid of all like the jank, all the noise, all like the tedious stuff. Yeah. Right. Come up with ways to automate, but also create cheat sheets for yourself to go to. Yes, exactly. Yeah, run books, playbooks, SOPs, all this stuff. Documentation. Be like, oh, like I solved this issue. Okay, I'm gonna just like record what happened. Boom, plug it away inside of our company documentation. Awesome. And you know what? It might come up like 2 years later, and you could be like, oh, thank God, I'm so glad I wrote that down because I totally had no idea what that was about. That's going to happen. Happened to me. It's happened to a lot of people. You're going to be like, wow, I am so glad I recorded those very specific steps with some protocol I've never heard of and some weird command on some old legacy device on their software and firmware that they configured in a way that no one ever reasonably would. And it's on like page 7 of some random manual that you have to find online of like a snapshot. It's like someone scanned it and there's a command inside there that you needed. That kind of thing. It's gonna happen. And you just need to like just document and be done with it. Yes. Yes, document. Just document. Fill it up. Boom, boom, boom. And Ariel's saying, keep a log of all those. Yes, keep logs of what you're doing. I mean, like your manager should. If you have a good IT manager, they're going to go to bat for you, and they're going to be like, yeah, you know, like my team's kicking butt, like they're doing a good job. Look at all these tickets that they've closed. These are top issues. They've saved this amount of time. They've improved X, Y, and Z. Yeah, they should be looking out for you, but you should also be looking out for yourself and kind of keeping like a general log for like performance review time of like what you've been doing, what you're up to, and some of your achievements. Brina's saying you have to document so much. Yeah. Time comes for us all. It's all good. Cool. Okay, so I've also added in some general metrics in here for you to be aware of. There are some like standard industry types of things on the IT side, like first response time to a ticket, mean time to resolution, first contact resolution, customer satisfaction, ticket volume and trends, etc. etc. So that's something that I kind of want to highlight. Like we're not going to go too much over it. I think it's important to understand. I think they're very self-explanatory. So like, what is the first, like how soon are you able to respond to it? How long does it then take you to resolve it? And this is it's a team thing. How many times was it resolved right away? Or was it escalated multiple times? And generally, like how satisfied are your users or customers? And then volume of trends. It's honestly, it's common sense, right? Like it's just metrics on like how good is your performance. So I'm going to stop there and say something. This is typically like an immediate like anxiety moment for a lot of students when they first start hearing this. And they just like, well, how long should I take, you know, to solve a ticket? Or how many tickets should I get in a day? What's a reasonable number I should be able to complete? Those are all the wrong questions. All the wrong questions. And they're natural to ask them because you start wondering like, well, you know, like I kind of want to be prepared. I want to say or be able to kind of gauge and rate myself against things. Fair, totally fair. But the questions that you want to be asking yourself instead are, what is the team's average response time? How can I ensure that I am meeting that or exceeding it? That is the question you need to be asking. What is the average amount of tickets closed by the team? How can I keep up with that and exceed on it? How can I help my team, by extension, improve their performance as well? That is way more important. And those are the important questions to be able to ask yourself and to ask your team and your manager in the future. And you will quickly find what you need to be able to focus on to make yourself better for that team. Because one company's IT issues are going to be very, very different than another company's IT issues. It's going to be built off the same general knowledge of IT stuff that we've all learned about now. But you're going to want to learn more about that company's technology stack, what they do and why, and their process, and get better at that for that company. And in turn, your knowledge of general IT will improve. You don't need to worry about that. That will happen naturally. Is KS saying that timed resolution is important? Yeah. It is. It's very important. But understanding what the technology is involved to be better with, to resolve that issue, and if the supporting processes are there, is there documentation, is there automation, are you missing things to make it easier, are you brute forcing it every single time, are you reinventing the wheel? Those are all, it's not about micromanagement, it's not about putting you under the microscope. And you're not going to be good at everything. Some tickets you're going to be able to close right away, and then some you're going to take forever. And vice versa with other members of your team. You got to rely on one another. And your manager will start to see this, and they're going to be able to route certain things to certain people and get you to specialize in things, and then you can train on the things that you need a little bit more time with. That's all. Yeah. Look, as Demore and Karina saying, I mean, if you all can document, you're going to be rock stars. People are going to love you. Just make sure you get your job done too. Don't sacrifice your job. But cool. Cool. So another thing that I want to talk about is, aside from documentation, is secrets management. So secrets management is effectively just a tool or a process that you have to store all your sensitive information. There's some really great tools out there. I really like IT Glue. That's anyway. So you're going to have these tools that basically store all of your sensitive stuff that you kind of like check in with a library card, you sign in, you take what you need, and off you go. This is all documentation as well. KS, you use IT Glue as well? Yeah, nice. Great. So again, even this, you're not going to have to remember all the things. It's impossible. So you're going to have these things called like secrets management tools, where they act as like a centralized point that your team can share and store specific documentation inside here to respond to things. You see, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're trying to be lazy. We're trying to make our jobs real easy for ourselves. Because we don't want to be stuck with busy work putting out fires all day as much as possible. We really want to minimize that. So you're going to hear that term secrets management, and that's just something where your team centralizes like certain IP addresses, passwords even, secrets. That's called secrets management. So you're going to have something like that. And secrets management is also a concept to securely manage your like API keys, credentials, etc. in software development as well. So that's another concept. And then identity and access management also has the concept of secret management. You store that information somewhere securely and safely. So it is a tool. It's also a concept. Yeah. Yeah, CyberArk's good. That's right, great. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of you need like IT Glue at home. Like, come on. You don't need this stuff at home. I don't know what kind of vault you're building. Yeah, exactly, KS. So like having documentation. So, and that's what I'm trying to say is don't think that your ability to solve a ticket is always purely on you and your technical ability. That was a realization that I had early on when I first started. And I was kind of frustrated a little bit at sometimes of it took me a little bit long to solve things. And then I started to look at it from a different lens. I'm like, wait a minute, like, well, A, no one knew what to do. B, there was no historical record of it. C, like the other guy that did solve it at one point, he did it and he never documented it. And now he doesn't remember what to do either. So like, I can't be frustrated at myself for taking a while to solve something like that. The general process of how the team is able to document itself and process and practice is the problem. And you're going to find that a lot. Yeah. It's not always about like your technical ability. It's about like the general process and what you have. The limitations of your resources. Let's keep that in mind too. Cool. And then I think the last thing just to kind of manage is to remember, and I think I've said this term loosely by now, but I want to hammer it home a little bit, but reimaging is a very important thing. Having a baseline image, like a trusted known state of the workstation that you can always restore it to if something goes wrong, is a common thing in IT and cybersecurity, is just reimage it. That means put it back to the known last good trusted state. That's just something to keep in mind. That's going to be a common solution more often than when something gets real bad. Because you're not going to have time to go through every single event log. Kim, yeah, don't ever use public repos for this. Yeah, don't do that. Here's a tool that you can use and scan a whole bunch of GitHub repositories and find all the secrets that are being committed by people unknowingly. So don't do that. As Kim is saying, don't use public repositories to store your secrets. It's pretty easy to find. Is that the golden screen? It's got a lot of different terms, like golden image, base image, trusted image. Think more conceptually of what we're trying to accomplish. Because again, like even naming conventions are going to change when you go company to company. This is like a general term to reimage the workstation. As much as people try to standardize IT, it's still a business. It's still people. And people like shortcuts and handy things and nicknames to remember stuff. So there's always a bit of getting up to snuff on the company culture when you get there too. You don't want to be the person that kind of walks in and is like, well, wait a minute, why aren't we calling this thing? Like, you know what I mean? Maybe once in a while. Not everything. No one just wants to be audited all day. Cool. Okay. We got a little bit more time in the day over here. Or you all now should have access to a new range. It's called the SOC 100-1 HelpDesk. So we're going to launch that. And let's go and actually look at some tickets together. Let's do it. Wow. Loading. Okay, SOC 100-1 HelpDesk VMs. We're going to kick things off with getting started with OS Ticket. So what is OS Ticket? Take a look at this. This thing's super cool. OS Ticket is a nice, free little case management platform you can use for all of your IT tickets that you need. Actually pretty powerful too. A ton of great features, different fields you can use, opening, closing, metrics, custom responses, etc. A lot of cool things. Filters. Knowledge base. It's got all baked in. And you don't need to go and pay an arm and a leg for it. Like maybe NetWise, some of the bigger companies out there. So a lot of cool stuff. We'll load that up. We've configured OS ticket for you. And it's basically just like a small home help desk for you. That's what it is. This is our virtual help desk that we created. So we're going to load up our Windows server from this range. We're going to connect to it. Yeah, of course you do, KS. A lot of companies use ConnectOne. It's so expensive. Hey, maybe you can get away with using OS Ticket. Won't cost you a dime, just some time. Let's go ahead and open up our Edge browser here on the bottom. You can see a couple of things. First of all, we have this one tab here bookmark for you. This is called the Good Corp Support Portal. Load. So you've got a full-blown little ticket case management platform for you over here. So this is what the user would see typically. They would go to a portal like this. They'd have some type of little welcome message. They can open up new tickets. They can check ticket statuses. And you've got very limited functionality from the user perspective. Right? So you can go like open a new ticket, put in some email. It's some domain.com. Full name, some name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Help topic. So like report a problem. You see how it'll pop up and kind of give you some details to work with over here, like issue summary. You have some basic fields you can put inside here. Access issues, general inquiry, feedback. You can change these, but they're general like canned topics. And then you just kind of put in some information inside here, fill that out, and then hit create ticket. So like from a user perspective, you want it to be nice and easy. And this is what they'll see. They'll have some type of like support portal or help desk portal for them to interact with things. Now, from us, what we would like to do is we're going to go and log in, open up a new tab, and we're going to open up the agent. We're going to go in, we're going to use... we have two of them programmed through over here, but the one that you want to use inside the lab you can see as well too. We're going to go with Good Helper at goodcorp.local. It's a good name for an IT help desk analyst. Good Helper. Password is Fairmont55. You're going to see that a lot everywhere. We're going to just keep kind of using this. 5. We're going to log in. Cool. So guess what? Welcome. Welcome everyone to your virtual help desk dashboard. We've also got it pre-programmed with a bunch of tickets. And there you go. So your job now is to go and complete this and complete every single ticket and get back to me by the end of the week. Welcome to Good Corp. Welcome to day one. Day one on the job. Okay, I mean, I'm gonna walk you through like a couple, but you feel that pressure that you, yeah, Karina, like low pressure, excited to dive in. Did you feel that for a moment of just like, oh damn, like I've got work in front of me now. Doug's saying, do we get bonus points if we know the answers to those tickets now? Of course, there's always ways to earn bonus points. Okay, so let's actually walk through a little bit of the process. And we're going to go, and the next lab is actually called resolving your first ticket. So just to actually like walk you through kind of like what to expect and what it's like. So we're going to start off with the most common one of them all. And so yeah, the password credentials are inside lab, so Fairmont55 exclamation mark. And you want to go with the good helper account. So let's go and get started with print issues. It's a common one, can't print. So first, before we do that, let's go and actually like look at your board over here. So when you log in as a HelpDesk analyst, you're gonna have like a dashboard, right? Like it's pretty cool actually for a free tool that you can work with. It's robust. You've got full metrics on ticket activity. So like assigned, closed, created, deleted, edited, transferred, departments, topics, right? So like which types of tickets are trending. Agent. Like who's the agent? It's only you. You've only got good helper. Let's go in with this. Agent directories. So like who else is on the team? Well, it's just you and good helper too, but it's only you. You are good helper. My profile. So like you, like your agent profile. These are typical things you would see on like your own portal as being like an IT analyst. Team members. General organizations. So like this is the OS ticket organization with the OS ticket team. If you needed to email them. So like you would use a portal like this and you could email them for support. Because sometimes your HelpDesk tool will break and you have to contact their IT team to solve your portal. Tasks that are open right now, which are different than tickets. Tasks are individual tasks inside of a ticket that are sometimes used by some companies. So this supports that feature. And then a knowledge base. With frequently asked questions, if users are always asking the same things, categories, canned responses as well too, that you can always just respond back to. So tickets is kind of going to be where you work at as an analyst. You've got the open ones, you have your tickets, ones that are closed, and you can search for the old tickets that have been closed. So let's go and take a look at print issues. Let's select that. Let's take a look and kind of see. Some of the fields that you'll see inside of a ticket would be like the status, so it's currently open, priority levels, department, who it's been assigned to, you're in support department. A service level agreement would be like, we're not going to get into that with our virtual help desk, but for you to know in the future when you start, is you'll have a service level agreement of like how soon you should have the ticket closed with the company. Like there will be an agreement. You need to meet those metrics. The user that submitted it, so this is good user, and you can see their email address and what the topic is and the message. So let's take a look and see what's going on here. Good user says, "Hi there, I recently uninstalled some software. I was using that handheld print jobs. Or sorry, I recently uninstalled some software. I was using that handled print jobs, but now nothing's working when I try to print. Can you see what the problem is?" That's a very real type of ticket you can see. So what do you do? Who wants to help me go through it? What do you do? What do you do? Well, while you're thinking about that, first thing you can do before you respond to them down here, maybe you can post like an internal note. Say, beginning ticket, investigation, or something, if you want. Yeah, another one. My computer is slow. Yeah. Or it was really slow yesterday, but now it's back to normal. What does that mean? You're gonna get it. Yeah, interesting. So Karina's saying maybe first find out what software they installed that handled print jobs. Yeah, good. KS is saying make sure on the same network. Yeah, Doug's saying, so when did it first start happening? What does the system log say on the printer and the computer? Yeah, internal note. What's going on and what you're about to do possibly, and then initial. Yes. Good, yeah. Yes, beginning ticket investigation. So, what we see here, the uninstalled software that handled print jobs, and now nothing's working when they try to print. So that's like the first line. So maybe we can begin the ticket investigation. In this case, we have a small network. It's just the domain and the workstation, and they are in the same network, so we can kind of rule that out right away. Like, boom, good to know. Next, we can maybe start thinking about, like, we're saying, right? Like Doug had mentioned above, like what's the history, what are the logs going on, and all that stuff. So we can do, first things first is, well, is the service still working? Do something like that. Ticket status. Now, it's only got 3 stages. There's open, resolved, and closed. So it's still open. So we're going to kind of post that note internally. And that's kind of like what you would see, like internal exchanges happening between you and other analysts, trying to find out. If you needed more information, you could kind of respond back to them, be like, you know, can you tell me a little bit more about this, like when, what time, etc. Kind of go further from there. So we're on the domain controller right now, and what we're going to do is we're going to open up services. Services. Here we go. Yeah, good old print spooler. So print spooler. Well, would you look at that? Why is the print spooler service disabled? Poor good user. Can't do their job. So we can go back, we can change this. Give it like an automatic delayed start. So that's good to know. Let's just leave it back to automatic then. So automatic delayed start is not configured. Another side note for us to find out why. But at least we've turned the print spooler service back to automatic, and we can start it. Cool. So we've now actually been able to turn the print spooler service back on. Users should be able to print at this point in time, so that's good. Let's go find out what happened. So let's take a look at Event Viewer. If only we had Sysmon configured, right? Windows logs. Now, we talked about system being more around like services and whatnot. So let's let that load for a moment. Let's go to Windows Security Event IDs. So if you're not sure, we do a search for service. Anything around? Got a lot over here. I know the one that I'm looking for. Not gonna be inside of here. That's fine. So, Windows Event ID Service stopped. Okay, so service stops at Event ID 7040 7036. So let's go take a look. See if we can find anything related to system logs. We're going to filter this. 70, 40. Ooh. Something going on over there. Bunch of logs. Let's do a little control F. Look for print. Interesting. So actually, at 1:10 in the morning, for whatever reason, service stopped. The start type of the print spooler service was changed from auto start to disabled. Changed by the administrator. Should we tell good user that? Should we tell them? It's not their fault. I mean, that's going to be up to you. But now we know what happened. So that's interesting. So it looks like the service was actually disabled by the administrator on Good Corp. Good question. What were they doing? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's copy that. Let's copy the details as text. Back inside. Take it over here. And we can post a little internal note. Print service disabled. Yeah, I'm on blast, right? What the hell? Okay, so we're just gonna go copy that inside there. I'm gonna get rid of all the event X. A lot of stuff. I just copied that from the event viewer. I'm just gonna go and update the ticket internally. Be like, hey, like this is what I found. Post that note. Ah, oh, feels good. 5 minutes, right? Not bad. Just crushing tickets over here. Right. Doug, put the admin on blast. Change his username. Cool. So we got to the service configured backing up. It's running again. So let's go back. You can see some little updates over here going on. We can now do a post to reply. Let's go back to good user. And there's some canned responses over here. We can be like, hello, good user. Just want you to know that not your fault. Never was. You're a good person. Don't believe anything. I'm just clearly don't do that. But anyways, this is like where you would go, just having some fun here. You would go over here and you would then give a response back to good user. So we've gone ahead and restarted print service. Sorry about that. Looks like it was disabled. And root that cause. Guards. Your friendly neighborhood IT. Ticket status. Market is resolved. Post a reply. Nice. I was going to kind of just like close on you right away. So assigned to me. Closed. Oh, doesn't that feel good? Like today, close one ticket right away. You can kind of see what this looks like. Hello, good user. We've gone ahead, restarted service. So, and then closed like that. So this is kind of what like a closed ticket would look like eventually. Some exchange back and forth, some internal threads and documentation of what happened. And then you could go update somewhere where to improve this. So Doug's saying, yeah, take some screenshots and things. You can improve the documentation better, copy the event log. You want a chain of custody. That's really what you want. And yeah, I mean, we're having fun with it, clearly. You don't want to go and be mean to your teammates, but that's kind of what it would be like going through a ticket to that level. And then Karina's asking, oh, look at that. Yes. Yes, Karina, you would. In a normal environment, you would want to go then and actually test that the printer is working. Got a natural sysadmin in the making over there. Now, clearly, we're a little bit limited, obviously, with a virtual help desk, but yes, excellent. Excellent. Yes, you always want to go back now and try to reproduce what the user is mentioning. Like, is it no longer an issue, truly? Yes. Cool. That's your virtual help desk waiting for you. Now, there's a couple things here I want to walk through. And I think I'm actually going to I'm going to wait for tomorrow. We're going to do the Kerberos analysis. And then we'll jump into the home lab stuff. But tomorrow, so I'm gonna do one more ticket with you because this one's a little bit more complex and I want to walk you through it. And then I'm also going to walk you through how to start the challenges. Some of them already pre-populated for you. Like you just have to go in and solve the ticket on your own. And then some of them actually have you work with a script. And the script sort of simulates like a real-time ticket. The script will run, it's going to do something, and then it's going to create a ticket on your dashboard, and then you have to respond to it. So the expectation for you going through this course is you need to complete all the 6 tickets on your own. There is no challenge or quiz in this module here, but you do need to complete all the 6 tickets. You can collaborate, work with each other inside of Discord. I'll give some more steps tomorrow, but tomorrow we're going to do the Kerberos analysis and then how to actually start a ticket together. And then we're going to jump into the home lab portion over here, getting you all set up. That's going to be the agenda for tomorrow, but welcome to your virtual help desk. All of you in SOC 100-1, you are about to start your first job at Good Corp. Your first internship. Pretty exciting. I really hope you guys enjoy it too. This is really fun. I wish I had this when I first started. I wish I had like a little help desk to kind of train myself on and get some experience with. Really wish I had that. Cool. Excited? No job experience, this is it. Yeah. No steps. It'd be super cool. A bunch of you teamed up as analysts inside the Discord channel and then built some documentation. Put it on GitHub or something. That'd be super cool. I might even add that in as a little component, as an optional. If any of you want to go and submit a pull request, like a PR, maybe I can put up a little GitHub from Level Effect as like a little community one. And you can submit some documentation on ticket resolution. Put that on the resume after too. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, ticket notes turn off and on. Triple T, yeah, you're welcome. For sure. Cool. Well, I think that's a good spot stop for the day. I think we covered a lot. A lot of good concepts, wrapped up Event Viewer, Sysmon, talked a lot about the help desk structure, how things work, the overlap of cybersecurity, and introduce you to your case management platform, where you're actually going to work your first job. Your first IT job will be at GoodCorp as Good Helper at goodcorp.local. we hope you enjoy your experience with us at Good Corp during this time. Good stuff. Okay. That's all I got for the day. So, once again, thank you everyone. Thank you for spending your time again with us another Saturday over here at SOC 100-1, and hope you enjoyed Enterprise Windows, the last little bit of it, and HelpDesk. Looking forward to seeing all of you IT analysts get to work and go and improve the general IT service at Good Corp. There's some good tickets coming in that need some resolution and getting our team back to work. So thank you again, everyone, for spending your time with us. And we'll see you tomorrow, Sunday. Home lab time. We're going to build a home lab tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Have a good Saturday, everyone.